transitional issues on service tax from 6% to 8%. And the second part later on, after the break, we'll be talking about e-invoicing.
Recording
We
in
call it bukan
progress.
email invoicing, so it's a little bit different. The recent amendments to the service tax regulation announced in the budget 2024 have brought about significant changes in the tax rates and expansion to the taxable service. These changes have direct implication for our architectural projects, from basic scope services such as schematic design and construction documentation preparation to supplementary service like feasibility studies and site analysis. So there will be a lot of impact to our service. Understanding the transitional rules and potential impact on our billing process and SST reporting is crucial to maintaining the financial health of our firm and ensuring compliance with regulatory requirements. In addition, the upcoming implementation of e-invoicing in Malaysia presents both opportunities and challenges for our e-invoicing promise to streamline billing process, enhancing efficiency and reduce administrative burdens. However, transitioning to e-invoicing requires thorough understanding of the process model, validation flows, and implementation timeline. So today we aim to equip you with knowledge and tools necessary to navigate this transitional seamlessly and leverage and benefits e-invoicing for our architectural practices. Especially, we will have to deal with the new system that government will be think to us. Throughout the seminar, we have curated a series of informative presentation by none other than Miss Chin Chin. I will talk about her CV later, and interactive discussion led by esteemed her partner, and then also maybe from the audience. We encourage active participation and engagement from all attendees to share insight, experience, and best practice to relevant our profession. So without further ado, I will call Miss Chin Chin, but I would like to present her CV. Ada? I'd like to introduce her. Ada dia punya CV ke? Tak ada? Speaker's profile. Okay, introduce a little bit about Miss Chin Chin, the beautiful Miss Chin Chin. Is currently the Technical Director of Tax Pro Service, Riam Berhad, and partners of Avix Tax Consultants, Riam Berhad. She was previously attached with the Transfer Pricing and Investigation Group of PW Malaysia and was the Director of Tax Division of PKF Malaysia and Executive Director of GST Division of Moore Stephens Malaysia. She has over 25 years of tax and audit experience, covering a wide range of Malaysian taxation matters, such as tax audit and investigation, tax incentive, business restructuring, tax due diligence review, tax advisory and planning, tax compliance, GST 1.0, SST 2.0, implementing engagement for clients ranging from statutory body, SSM, MNC, PLC, and SME in Malaysia. She has also previously assisted various clients in their tax appeal to the Special Commissioner of Income Tax and High Court Malaysia. She is also actively involved in providing income tax dispute resolution support service in HNW individual as well as in tax audit and investigation case conducted by the tax authorities. Chin Chin is a chartered accountant of Malaysia Institute of Malaysia Accountants, a member of CTM and CPA Australia, and well-accredited trader with HRD Corp. She's also a regular speaker at a seminar and event conducted by MIA and CTIM. Wow, amazing. Lucky she's taking care of our tax in PAM. So without further ado, I will call Ms. Chin Chin to the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Indira. Yeah. I have the pointer. Yeah. Very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Saturday morning. You really deserve a big round of applause for yourself to be here with us on the service tax changes as well as the e-invoicing. Okay. Thank you very much for PAM to inviting myself here to share with you the key changes on service tax. How does the recent changes impact our professional practice, you and us? Myself also in professional group. We are in the same group G, later we'll touch on it, as well as e-invoicing. I mean, these are the two hot topics this year. On top of that, there's actually one more, capital gain tax. In fact, 2024 is a very taxing year for tax profession as well as businesses. If you follow through the budget 2024 changes, we have very first time capital gain tax this month, 1st March 2024, for those that who are not familiar. Malaysia never have capital gain tax, but this month we have capital gain tax started for unlisted share, but not all capital asset. And this month, 1st March, we have service tax changes because the government need to expand the revenue base because we don't have GST 2.0 yet. Okay, we have the U-turn of GST, right? So we have SST 2.0 now. We are sharing the changes. When will GST 2.0 come back? Not sure yet. Okay. Okay. And another aspect will be your e-invoicing, which is for the large player, less than 5 months, they're going to roll out the e-invoicing, which is on the 1st August 2024 for the large player, those that 100 million and above. Then the rest of player will come in stages, 1st January 2025, which is also 9 months down the road for the second phase. And the rest will all come in the e-invoicing era next year, 1st July. Okay? For most of the professional practice will be in the phase 2 and phase 3, most of the professional practice. Okay? The latest phase is phase 3, will be all businesses will be in, whether they earn only 10,000, 20,000, even the goreng pisang business owner at the roadside also has to be e-invoicing. Okay, we'll share that in the second part. Okay, so let me start with a little bit of a quick overview we're going to touch on service tax. Okay, perhaps I go this side. Okay, so today's the morning session. We have here until 10:30. 10:30, right? Okay, we have here until 10:30. In the 1.5 hour time, I will cover the very first point, will be the changes of service tax rate, because from 2018 until now, this is the very first time the government introduced a change of service tax rate from 6% to 8%. Okay, with the change of the service tax rate, how does it impact you on your billing, particularly from now onwards to the next couple of months? Okay, because you may have project completed before the changes, right? But billing a bit later. Okay, how do you account for the service tax rate when you issue the billing? Okay, and those are the transitional issue involved. The second point will be on top of the change of service tax rate. In fact, this 1st March 2024, we also have the expansion of the service tax base, because to streamline some of the service tax treatment, plus they expand the scope so that the government can collect more service tax, because government lack of revenue, as you all know. Okay, so this point I will cover on the expansion briefly, because it's a very heavy topic. We usually 1.5 hours, we can't cover all, but I'll give you a quick overview. The third one will be the Group G, the professional service provider. What are the key areas you need to take note on the service tax regime? We won't go to detail, but it's to give you a high side, which are the areas you need, as a business owner, you need to know on the service tax compliance, particularly on the imported taxable service, IMTS. In fact, a lot of business, when we do audit, still not aware of IMTS. Well, SST 2.0 already about nearly close to 6 years already. Okay, and the B2B for your business, when you have a subcon, right, where they need to charge you service tax, you know how to actually claim the B2B exemption to reduce your service tax impact in your business. Okay, sorry. Then the last is for those that in the group, you're eligible for group relief if you meet the condition. Okay, so these are the 5 heavy topics that we are going to go through. Okay, as most of you, if you recall, the announcement of service tax rate was announced since budget 2024 last year. Okay, where the rate will be increased from the 6 to 8%. Sorry, the pointer. Okay, yeah, so 6 to 8%. So effective date is 1st March 2024, which means this month. Okay, so this is the cut-off date to determine, and it doesn't mean that your billing issued today must be 8%. You have to look at the underlying transaction, which we'll go through later. Okay, So legislative wise, the order has came out very last minute, 26th February, the service tax order just came out. Okay, 26th February. So it's the very first time that when the changes were introduced, the order came fairly late because of the order have to take care of the changes of rate plus the expansion of the scope. So a logistic business has been a hot topic if you all follow through on the newspaper, because the very first time they introduced a new group for logistic. So in fact, logistic affect a lot of supply chain. So a lot of engagement. That's the reason why this year the order was very late. It came through only on 26th February to add the changes on the new taxable group as well as the tax rate. Okay. So we have the amended regulation and the amended on the rate. Okay. Okay. This just give you a quick overview that on top of the amendment on the order to give effect on the change of rate, change of certain service tax treatment, the government also came out with the service tax policy to give clarification on the tax rate and the service tax guide on how you treat the transitional changes. So the service tax guide, if you really pick up from the My SST website, is all in Bahasa. Okay, they are not in time to release the English version. So, but fortunately, this coming few slide I already translate to English already. So it's not going to be in Bahasa presentation. So I'll be putting up in English that mainly summarize some of the diagram. Okay, sorry, the pointer. Okay, the diagram in the service tax guide. Okay, so tax topic is always taxing. Just bear with us a bit because when we come to the scenario, we have to go a bit slow so that you can grab it, and you may need to tell the accountant to take note on certain area. Okay. Okay, this is the service tax policy. It's in the custom website. Okay, service tax policy to give effect on the change of 6 to 8%, but doesn't mean all taxable group means all services are at the 8%. Because the new service tax rate is 8%. For essential services, which is the F&B, the telco, which is your broadband, your handphone, and the car park. These are the three that keep at 6%. So make sure the restaurant owner don't charge you 8%. Because in the very first week of March, we came across some restaurant put a banner up say, we will start to charge you 8%. In fact, it's a violation because these three group is maintained at 6%. Okay. And those that if you take note, credit card also charge you the annual service fee, right? Those are 25 ringgit still maintain the same. Okay. So on that service tax policy note as well, they also expand the karaoke, repair, maintenance, brokerage if you are earning commission or referral fee, and the logistic. So this I will cover in my slide later. Okay. So this is the main service tax policy that we are referring to. Okay. So in summary, from 1st March 2024, we will have three main category of services that subject to these three type of rate. So we have a 6% for the essential services, okay, including logistic, we have 4 group, okay. 8% will be for the remaining. That means those are not in the 4, the remaining will be 8, except for the credit card and debit card group, is 25 ringgit, okay. So this is give you a quick overview. Okay, so this 6% for knowledge purpose, so that the business owner, when they charge you, you know this, they are not supposed to charge you more than 6, okay? Because the law prescribes the rate, not that they can determine the rate. The law prescribes the rate because every business, including you and me, we are licensed under registered person. Our role is an agent for government to collect service tax and remit. We cannot collect and not remit. Our duty is to collect and remit, okay? And you must have license to collect first. Get registered, you have license, collect and remit. Okay. So group B is a food F&B restaurant, can only charge you 6%. Masses, telco, all the telco, they're package will be 6%, except for certain package they will clearly define in their bill that are not fall within the essential telco services. Okay, and parking operators still maintain at 6. Logistic, which is the new group, is also taxed at 6. Okay, so the logistic become very wide. Later, I have one slide. Logistic will impact us as a consumer. Okay, even if business you are using logistic, but professional service we seldom use logistic in our supply chain. Okay, it's more for businesses. Okay, so this is the one that I mentioned, 25 ringgit for credit card and charge card. Okay, okay, who are the player that fall in 8% group? Okay, we have this group A. We'll go through this group just quickly so that you give yourself a little bit of background on how service tax the player. A is accommodation, which is the hotel group. Hotel will charge you 8% from this month onward for the stay from 1st March onwards. And B is a restaurant, which just now we mentioned already. B is 6%, so we don't have B in the 8% group. Okay, then C is all the very big group here. You have a nightclub, private club, all type of club here. And even the very hot topic in the beginning of this year, the TCM, which is not registered TCM, is fall under the health and wellness group. So this group C is very wide. So after all the hoo-ha-ha, the government came out with a service tax policy to exclude the TCM on the basis they are registered, because they need to be regulated. Okay, then they can actually qualify for certain exemption. Okay, because tax rules doesn't cover very wide. Sometimes the rules may have some gap. This is where the how the hoo-ha came from. Okay, so all the massage, all the relaxed area was subject to 8%. Okay, so the C, then we have E, the golf also 8%. F, betting and gaming, also subject to 8%. How about us, professional group? Okay, the professional group, in fact, we used to have 12 group. With the 1st March 2024, this group has been expanded to 13. So the repair maintenance also fall within the scope already. Okay, so in the group G, professional, and this year they change the header to skill, professional or skill, which include maintenance. Okay, so now in the professional group, it's a 13 group. Okay, in fact, why, you may ask me, why so many groups, isn't it? Isn't it very confusing to start to define the group? Because Service Tax Act mechanism, they have to define the taxable services. Okay, so when it defined in the taxable group, then only the government has the right to charge service tax. Not like GST, all are taxable except the exempted and zero rated. So easier for businesses to comply. But in the service tax regime, it has to define you are a taxable person, you are taxable services, then you fall within the service tax compliant, then you charge and collect. That's the reason why we have getting an expanded group now, because of how the service tax at work. But whereas in the GST, things are easier, because as long as you're carry on business in Malaysia, your turnover reach that, you just need to take note, your business fall into the exempted or zero rated. If you're not, then you just charge license, charge, claim input tax. It's much easier if you're in GST reporting error. Service tax, you always will get self-confused. Am I charging? Should I charge? Because is this services taxable? Not taxable? Rental of building, is it taxable? Right? You always have all this kind of question coming up. Okay, that's the reason why GST is always a more efficient tax system. Okay, so this part I will go through in the after the tea break. After the tea break, we'll touch on the professional service. Okay, we have another group called Group I, which is the Young line. Okay, you know, Malaysia, we always have the Young line. So this is the Young line, which is the insurance, parking operator, workshop, including the car workshop, okay, hire and drive, which is the rental, advertising services, electricity for commercial and domestic user, domestic flight. If you notice, domestic flight also have service tax. Okay, brokerage and underwriting and cleaning services. So this is yang line group, others. Okay, so also 8%. Okay, so let's start with a bit of the rules behind change of service tax rate. Because we have a change of service tax rate, then you end up we have 6% and 8%. Especially certain player will provide 6 and 8. Then how should they determine the rate? In the professional group, we may not have this issue because our rate is 8. For those in hotel, F&B sector or club, they may provide 6 and 8. Just for your knowledge purpose, and when you receive the bill, you know how to distinguish. Okay, so the rules say that when the person charge you, the taxable person charge you, it should be based on the nature of taxable services provided. Sorry. Okay. Nature of the taxable service, not based on the group. Let's say they are in a group A, but hotel 8%. But if a hotel provide F&B, then should be 6%. So hotel cannot charge you your restaurant bill 8%. Even hotel is under A. Okay, restaurant is under B. But because the food F&B is B nature of services, they should charge you 6%. This is what the law is talking about. Okay, so even you provide a mix, as long as they can itemize, they should charge you based on 6 for food, hotel accommodation 8%. Okay, this is what they are trying to say. Because law sometimes get a bit confusing. Okay. Okay, so this is what I'm trying to explain. Let's say you all run an event. Okay, quite common. We were a professional group. We will run an event. So you engage a hotel. They give you the banquet, the room charges, seminar charges, wedding. Then you have the parking. You have the restaurant charges. So on that, if they split the billing itemized, they should give this kind of service tax treatment properly. That means the F&B group, anything related to food should be 6%. Okay, F&B bill. The rest, like the seminar package, the hotel room stay is 8%. Spa, a lot of entertainment in nature is become 8%. Okay. If you bundle all in one price, then the highest will apply. Okay. Once you bundle, you cannot distinguish, the highest rate will apply. Okay, that's the rule of thumb. Okay. Okay, so for the next 3-4 slides, I'll just leave it for your reading, because if I read through this, you may feel confused. But I just give you a little bit of quick walkthrough. 3A is a transitional rule to give the legal impact and legal enforcement of how should you treat service tax. That means if you have the services provided spending over 1st March, what should be treatment? So this is the 3A. 3A that I'm talking about, saving provision 3A. But I'll illustrate in the diagram shortly. Okay. So 3B is talking about the saving provision, the service tax impact on which category that you still can treat 6%. They give you a concession rules. Okay. Even though your services provided after 1st March, but if your customer have make payment, whether partly or fully, before 1st March, means you have advance money received from customer. That part you can treat as 6%. Okay. If you have mobilization fee upfront for services performed after 1st March, on the basis that you receive the payment, payment must be received before 1st March. That should be the service tax treatment. Okay. The 3B give you the legal power to treat in that way. 3C is for the betting and gaming, the treatment. I'll explain in the diagram. Okay. 3D and E, the next two, is talking about the treatment for the IMTS, imported taxable service. If you, in the course of doing business, you need to subcon to an architect in overseas. It's quite common, right? You may engage overseas architect for some of the architectural support. Do you know that you need to account for imported taxable service? self-account, self-pay the service tax to the government. So this part, I think a lot are still not very clear. Okay, so this 3D and E give the legal impact of when should you account 8% for the IMTS, imported taxable services. Okay, as well as if you have paid to your vendor earlier, you can still use the old rate for IMTS. Okay. Okay, let's walk through the diagram for easy understanding purpose. So we will cover the diagram for how should you treat the services spanning over 1st March 2024 and progressive contract. Because in the nature of architecture consultancy, your services are not one-off. You are always on the progressive contract. Okay, progressive means it takes a while for you to complete the billing because you bill according to your client milestone. Okay, so definitely this will impact you in terms of how you treat your service tax. Okay, so later part I will cover a bit as well on the treatment on IMTS for the purpose of change of tax rate. Okay, this diagram will show you the general rule of thumb. Okay, the general rule of thumb of how should you treat the service tax before and after 1st March 2024. Okay, so saving provision 3 small a spell out that if you can distinguish your services perform before 1st March, means when the work done has been completed, then that portion of work still charged at 6%. Okay, but the services performed on and after means starting from 1st March onwards is 8%. Okay, so you may ask me, in the architectural context, how should I evaluate? How to determine services performed? Okay, maybe I can give you an example. Cloud of work. Cloud of work, you normally bill monthly, right? For the cloud of work reimbursement on monthly. So if the month cut off is before 1st March, even your billing after, then it should follow 6%. So you need to know when's the work done. Okay. Okay, so this is an example. If your work done is before 1st March 2024, okay? But because you need to go through some processes to get the client approval, get the bill out, so you issue your invoice after 1st March. It can be this month, can be next month, can be another month, okay? So if you issue invoice and if you can prove that the work is done before 1st March, then it's still 6%. Okay. Only thing is you need to take a note or make a remark in your bill to how you determine lah. Because the custom may do an audit couple of years down the road. You may totally forget why I treat this 6 and not 8. You may forget down the road. So it's good practice to make an indication in your invoice that the work done when. So another example probably I can share is, for example, your QS issued the valuation end February, right? End February. But your certificate issue on and after 1st March. But your determined point is based on the work done is based on the valuation report given by the surveyor, assuming that project required that. Okay, this is your proof for your services performed for that particular milestone. Not the entire project, for that particular milestone. Okay, which you issue billing after 1st March. Okay, so can follow. Okay, so 6%. Okay, if you can follow the service tax perform, if you have evidence to prove that. Okay, so the scenario 3 is if you have advanced billing issue. If you have advanced billing issue, okay, for the work to be done on and after 1st March. Means let's say at the end of February, I go and issue a bill for next quarter billing, maybe a support or whatsoever services. Okay, are you automatically qualified under 6? No, unfortunately, because the service tax rules say based on work done. Okay, so even you issue an invoice now, let's say backdate to February, backdate to February. Okay, doesn't mean automatically you can use 6% because the invoice, because we don't follow invoice. The rule say when is the services performed. Okay, so in this case, if you have no payment received in this scenario, it's still 8%. Means you, assuming you already issue at the last week of February, customer haven't paid you, right? And you go and charge 6%. Either you have to cancel the invoice or you have to issue a debit note to top up the 2%. Okay, so this is scenario 3. Okay, there's another concession rule under the saving provision. For layman purpose, I put it as concession rules. 3B means, but if you have a situation that you issue invoice and payment received, this rule doesn't matter you issue invoice or not. The key point is look at whether you receive payment or not. Any part payment or full payment, okay? Whether part payment or full payment before 1st March, but for the services performed on and after 1st March. At that portion, you still can use 6%. So the concession rule, because customer already pay you before 1st March, okay? So they don't want you to go back to the customer to request for 8% for that proportion. Only thing is the tricky part is if it's a part payment, you have to see your invoice, is it coincide with your payment? Those are the practical issues. Because usually customer won't pay without invoice, right? In practice, customer won't pay without invoice. You have to issue invoice first, customer only pay you. So, which means for you to apply this rule, your invoice could have issue for the part payment. Okay, the complicated will come in is, let's say you issue invoice 10,000, but customer only pay you half before 1st March. Then that portion that payment received 6%. Portion that not received for work done after, then that one have to account for 8%. That is the complicated scenario. Okay. Okay, I have the example later in the 12th table to go through with you. Okay, so scenario 5 will tackle about the part payment. In practice, you will have invoice go hand in hand with the part payment. Means you issue part payment before 1st March. You issue invoice before 1st March and the customer make part payment to you before 1st March. Do actual payment received before 1st March, still 6%. So the remaining payment received after 1st March will be 8%. Okay, the rule didn't say whether you should issue invoice or not before, but in practice, this will go hand in hand with invoice. Okay, can follow? This is the concession rules. So it become a bit complicated. You have to look at case by case. Those that before 1st March, which customer you issue invoice but they haven't paid, you need to do something on that. Because you issue invoice on 6%, they haven't paid you on 1st March, means technically you have to pay 8%. So either you cancel the invoice, okay, issue a new one, or you issue a debit note. But cancel invoice may not be, again, some preferred procedure because the invoice may have gone in for some approval process. Then the question is the debit note of 2%. You have to go into the customer for approval because the law has changed. Okay. Scenario 5. Then we go to scenario 6. Okay. Scenario 6, whereby if you have a milestone payment where you bill after 1st March, but you know the services is spending over 1st March. Means let's say now, today is 23rd, you issue an invoice to your customer for the work mid of February to mid of March, right? So it's spending over 1st March. So how do you apportion? Question is, if you can apportion with the basis, then you distinguish, itemize value of work before, then you can give 6%. Value of work after, you give 8%. Okay, that's the extra work part that if you were to go through this with your client. If you can distinguish and ascertain the value, the proportion for work done before and work done after. Okay? So this is the spending rules over. It's, in fact, GST era, we have the same rules. Okay? When we transit from 2014 to 2015, we have the similar rules. Okay? So this is scenario 6. Okay, so before I start the diagram, table 1 to table 7, this gives you all the example that given in the RMCD guide. Yeah? It's actually from the custom guide that issue on 26th of February. Okay, very last minute. Okay, because the previous draft guide has not been conclusive. So the final guide only came out on 26th, where the effective date is 1st March. Okay, so it's very short period for businesses to digest the treatment. Okay, particularly we have never changed a tax rate for so many years. All of a sudden, when you change a rate, the treatment will be affected. Okay. Okay, so let's go through the heavy part. Okay, the heavy part of the example. Okay. So table 1 to 3, I will touch on the 3 scenario that if your services are performed before 1st March. Okay, table 4 to 6, I'll cover the scenario that if the services provided after, but you may have payment, part payment, invoice issued before. And table 7 is the spending over example. Okay, and diagram 1 talking about the betting and gaming treatment. Then the table 8 to 13, we are touching on IMTS, the imported taxable services. Okay, imported taxable service. Sorry, later we'll stop at 10, is it? So okay, yeah, because we are based on the timing is 10, then you join back at 10:30, right? 10:30, then okay, can. Okay, so let's start with table 1. Table 1. In the slide, you can see in the middle here, marked as table 1. See, and the first part is the background of the case apply. Okay, the diagram. Sorry. Okay. So this table illustrates that if your services perform before 1st March, okay, before 1st March, okay, entire taxable services before 1st March, and your payment before 1st March. So these are perfect scenario. Okay, before and your payment before. So this should be an easy example. Okay, services performed before and payment before. So it's still old rate. Old rate. So this is a straightforward example. Table 1. Okay. Okay, this is the treatment. Your determined point is services provided. So, and this is your tax rate of 6% you should apply. Okay, table 2. Table 2, the services was entirely provided before 1st March, before effective date. Okay, entire payment received after. Right. So the next thing you need to look at is your invoice also issue before. Okay, because customer won't pay you unless you issue invoice, right? Right. So because there is an invoice issue before for work done before, customer pay you after, the treatment is still 6%. You don't need to adjust. Okay, although payment received after, your invoice issue before, services provided, so still maintain at 6%. Okay. Okay, this is the treatment. The determined point, 10,000, and the service tax rate, 6%. Okay, then we have the table 3. Services performed 1st March. Okay, perform, fully perform. Okay, 10,000 value of work. Part payment received 1st March. Part payment, another part payment received after 1st March. So what should be your service tax treatment? So the determined point, remember the 3A rules, means you look at when your services perform. Okay, your services performed before. Okay, and you need to determine, you need to keep the evidence to prove that all these are before. And this case, they have a invoice issue for part payment only, 6,000, you see. The value of work is 10,000. But they only issue, maybe the client only agreed to pay 6 first. So they issue invoice 6,000 first. And this they receive before 1st March. And the other part of balance of invoice 4,000 for the work done before, issue after 1st March. Okay. And payment also received after. So based on the rules, you can still use 6%. Okay. But what you need to do, for this part of work, you need to keep records. When custom do audit, they will check, prove to me, this part of work, have you performed it before 1st March? Okay, you need to keep evidence. Why? Now it's still fresh, but custom won't do audit the next 2 months. They will do audit maybe 1 to 2 years down the road. So your person in charge for account may change, your documentation are not there, then you can prove, then the issue will be, is it 6 or 8? This is a practical issue. Now you're still very clear. Okay, today I issue invoice, I determine, but I don't keep documents. Okay, my valuation report, I didn't attach with the invoice. Okay, in your case, you need to think about each billing, what is your evidence? Like those projects that you need valuation report and the valuation date to able to help you to prove that work done is before, please keep a copy in your file together with invoice. Okay, otherwise 2, 3 years down the road, no one can remember where's the document, why I give this treatment, I forget already. That's the common practical issue during audit investigation. The documentation are not kept intact with your treatment. Okay, because bear in mind, people will change, your staff will change. Okay, right? Okay, otherwise, if you're for big project, your billing 2% can be quite significant. Plus, not only 2%, customer will collect back 2% plus penalty 40%. Okay, if you are unable to prove, it's not only collect back 2%, there is a late payment penalty of 40% will be imposed on the 2%. Okay, so those are the practical issue that not only just give the rate, you need to have your proper governance on your documentation to keep track. Okay. 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 Table 4. Okay. Table 4. Table 4 will address the scenario of if your services provided after 1st March. After 1st March, usually means 8%, right? After 1st March, 8%. Okay. So entire services provided after 1st March, but your entire payment was received before 1st March. Okay, that means you issue invoice in advance for work to be done. Maybe sometimes your mobilization fee that you charge your customer in advance, right? Certain project you may charge your customer mobilization fee in advance, and you issue invoice for work to be done before 1st March, and customer has paid you. The key is this one that I highlight. The customer has paid you before 1st March. So this, because when you issue invoice before 1st March, you will have charged 6%, right? Okay, this you still can maintain at 6%. Because although the work is actually performed on and after, but the saving provision B, 3B say, if you have the payment received before 1st March, you can still give the old rate. Okay, so this is the key determining point. Payment for the invoice issue for work done after 1st March. Okay, getting complex, right? Getting complex. Okay, so for this table 4 is saving provision 3B. They give you the power to collect under the old rate and not new rate. Otherwise, it should have 8%. Okay, so for you to justify this, customer only look at your payment record. The customer payment record, is it before 1st March? Your bank. Okay. Okay, if you may ask me, What if I receive a customer check last day of February? 29th of February, the check dated 29, but I haven't banked in. What's my treatment? Tricky, right? I may receive check, but I haven't banked in. So should I treat before or after? Okay. Customer check 29. Okay. Then your very key important point is your account, how they record. Are they recording in February or they record in March? Because if they record in February, means it's showing as unpresented check in the books. Okay, so that's the main point, not looking at only check, is how your account recorded. That's why account is very important sometimes to prove your service tax treatment and your tax treatment as well. Okay. Okay, let's look at table 5. Okay, table 5, the header is taxable service provide after 1st March. After 1st March, your payment also after, because even though your invoice issue in advance. This could be some of the case where you already issue billing in advance in February for work to be done in March onwards, from March onwards. So in this case, if you have issued your invoice in February, for example, you will have charged 6%, right? Okay. But the underlying work is actually, the underlying work is actually 1st March and amount received after 1st March. So this, you need two options, whether you cancel the invoice, you may not like it, or you do a debit note, 2%, to build the difference. Because your invoice issue here could have been billing under 6% already here. Got issue before 1st March. Your system will just plug, your accounts girl will just put 6% and issue out. Yes. Yes, but for advanced work, for advanced billing, okay, work done for your case, if work done is before, yeah, customer make payment late, it's still 6%. Yeah, I know in architecture practice, the developer, they will pay late lah. Yeah, the developer. Yes. Okay. No, no.
Let's say pay like 1 year later.
Yeah,
Or last year.
correct. Yes, based on these rules. Only thing you're tricky is after 12 months they not pay, you have to pocket out first. Yes, yes. This is the transitional rules. So the transitional rule doesn't matter the pay later. Only thing is your cash flow impact. Because the 12-month rule is, okay, service tax work on the basis that they give you first 12 months based on receive basis. Your customer haven't paid you, you don't fork out your service tax first. But after 12 months, your customer still haven't paid you, customer say, I cannot wait already. Please pay in advance first. Okay, so they give you 12 months to collect your bill. So you have to gear up your collection efforts. Otherwise, the 13 months onward, you pocket out first, then customer pay you, you adjust in your account. Otherwise, if your accounts girl didn't adjust, you end up pay double. That's why using system is very important. Because if manual, your accounts girl forgot that you have paid out already, then when customer pay again, they go and pay again and double service tax. I mean, if you are using manual reporting, that's a risk lah. If you're using accounting system, the system will prompt. Okay, so those are practical issues. Okay. Just now we stopped at table 5, right? Okay, let's go through table 6. Yeah, good. Okay, this one is spending over. Okay, spending over. What if you have a billing that cross the 1st March? Milestone payment for maybe from 15 February for work done for 15 February to 15 March. You issue today for your work done, let's say 15 February to 15 March, means spending over. What should be your service tax treatment? Okay, to add some complication, you will have part payment. Okay, that's why the complication is you issue invoice and for work done before, after, plus part payment. Okay, so the part payment received before, and there are some part payment on and after 1st March. Okay, so the general rule of thumb is if you have payment received from your customer for your advanced billing scenario, advanced billing, then you still can use the old rate under the transitional rules. Okay, so if the payment, even you issue your advanced billing, but customer pay that remaining portion after, that portion will be 8%. So this is the general rule of thumb. Okay, when you have a part payment getting confused, okay, you have to go very slowly on this. Okay, table 6. Your services fully perform after 1st March. Okay, and you have issued invoice before 1st March, and customer don't pay you full part payment. Okay, even invoice issue before, but amount received 4,000 and the remaining after. So if you have this scenario, please make sure you tell your accounts to check properly. Okay, work done is after, but payment portion 4,000. Okay, this 4,000 portion, even though your invoice issue before, because it's a payment saving provision 3A, give you the right to charge 6%. Okay, how about your 6,000? Okay, so 6,000, okay, which is for the works to be done after 1st March, customer make the payment after 1st March, this 6,000 will be 8%. So this is the complicated scenario. Advanced billing, part payment. So you have to identify whether in your business scenario you have or not. So this month is a good cut-off. Get your accounts, go and identify the billing issue for the last few months, whether they have this scenario or not. Then you have to look at the service tax treatment. Okay, a bit taxing, no choice. We have to go through this transitional. Okay, because of the tax rate change. Okay, spending over. Okay, means your billing spending over 1st March. Okay, taxable services provided before and spending over means your milestone billing. Okay, so if you have services that provided before and you will provide your services cross 1st March. Okay, it can be January to March, you do a billing, 1 quarter billing. This is called crossover. So remember, the rule of thumb is if you can prove your services portion is before, then you still can use 6%. Then the rest that you cannot prove, okay, then will be 8% for the milestone billing. Let's say you bill your customer clock of work, Jan to March, 1 billing. So because the billing crossover 1st March, so the first 2 months, the clock of work, on-site work is before 1st March, that first 2 month portion, you need to apportion and itemize in your invoice. That portion is 6%. Then the after 1st March is 8%. Okay? So, but the complication is your advance billing for your March. If you receive any payment, then you still can maintain the old rate 6%. So the payment part also you need to look at. Okay, so this is the concession rules that they give you. Okay. So table 7, getting complex. Getting complex. Okay, after this, we'll break so that your mind can rest for a while for the transition. Then only we move to professional services. Okay. So table 7 give you a scenario where you issue invoice 12,000 before 1st March. Okay, issue invoice. Okay. Then your customer good paymaster pay you in advance also. Okay, before 1st March. Although you are doing some advance billing for your work crossover 1st before 1st March and after. You see, the 12,000 invoice is for portion of work before 1st March and the portion of work after 1st March. So this is where you issue 12,000. The work started in February, for example, until maybe April. So there are two portions of work here in your one invoice. Okay, we call spending over 1st March. Okay, you issue advance billing. So in this case, your customer paid you the 12,000. Okay, then the entire 12,000, even though it's advance billing, because that you have a payment received, you still can use the old rate. Okay, but if this scenario, the payment not received, then you have a lot of extra work. The 2,000, 6%. The 10,000 would be 8%. If no payment, here the example is there is a payment received. So remember the transitional rule, your saving grace is whether your advance billing with payment received or not. If payment received, you can still the old rate. Your advance billing with no payment received in advance or partial one, then you have to do the adjustment. Okay? So for scenario 2 is you issue invoice 36,000. 36,000. Advance billing, in terms of portion is 6,000 for work done before 1st March. 30,000 is after. Okay? So you have the services spending over 1st March. So the treatment is, before you assign the treatment, you have to look at any payment. Okay, you always have to look at any payment received. So for this invoice, before 1st March, you receive 18,000. Okay, so for the 18,000, you still can use old rate. Okay, payment received before 1st March, you can still use the old rate portion, 18,000. Then the remaining payment received after 1st March, then will be 8%. But your invoice here may have issue with 6%, right? Remember, you need to discuss with your customer again for the 2% difference here. Okay, because I don't want to amend the chart here to put there if invoice receipt, then you get yourself complicated. So you have to look back your invoice. With the service tax treatment, you look back your invoice. Okay. Okay, another scenario here, number 3 is you issue invoice 12,000. Okay, portion work is 2,000 before, portion of work 10,000, but customer didn't pay you before or paid after. Then you go on the general rules, the portion before and the portion after. So you can see the not so sensitive here. So 2,006% because the work done, and 10,000 8%. Customer receive payment late after. Okay. So the difference from this table, the scenario 3 compared to here, you can see scenario 1, because the customer paid in advance, you can still use the old rate. Okay. But here you issue the same invoice, but because the customer didn't pay in advance, then you have to go on the general rules to split the 2,006% and the 10,000 8%. Okay. Then scenario 4 for the spending over treatment is the 36,000 invoice you issued. Again, work done before and after spending over. Okay. No payment received before. Here, no payment received before. So you use the general rule to treat. The portion before is 6%, portion after 1st March 8%. Because there's no payment received here. You see? No payment received. Okay? Okay. So for betting and gaming, if you have this entertainment, okay, even though you have purchased the money, chips or coupon in advance, they say, unfortunately, the player will still have to charge you 8%. This one, they don't have concession rules. Okay, so for betting, they're based on the time of the draw is made. Okay, so some betting is based on coupon or chips. Okay, which is payment could have made in advance, but this no concession rules. Same like accountant, we are also equally busy. Okay, so okay, maybe for the IMTS, I go a bit quickly, but the rules is still the same. IMTS, as I said, I believe the first few already very confusing already, right? The IMTS, the general rule of thumb is still, if you engage foreign architect to help you on your services or foreign technical support, the treatment is quite similar. You have to look at when your services perform. So let's say if you get an Indonesian architect to help you on the project work, okay, then you need to account for the service tax as well. But IMTS rules are a bit complicated because you look at the invoice received or payment you make to the foreign architect, whichever is earlier. So a bit heavy for you all to go through lah. So I'll just walk through quickly for IMTS, because IMTS, this usually it will be good for your accounts people to catch up. Okay. Otherwise you will confuse with your invoicing to your customer already. This is self-account service tax for your payment made to your vendor, your foreign service provider. Self-account. I mean, let's say your architect practice require Indonesia architect to help you. You sub portion of work to the overseas architect. Okay, so the architect charge you 10,000, but in Indonesia they won't charge you Malaysia service tax. So the government rules is you require to self-account for service tax on the 10,000 and pay to government. It's just that withholding tax and our income tax is all self-assessment. Okay, so IMTS, I walk through quickly first, okay, for reference purpose, but may not be easily for you all to pick up because it need to relate to accounts, okay? So if your IMTS services are fully acquired before and due and payable, because there's an additional rule called due and payable, depends on your invoice received when you post into your accounts or your payment made to the foreign service provider. Okay, so the general rules, you look at your when is the services acquired plus the due and payable timing. So if you pay your foreign architect, you acquire the service before 1st March and they give you invoice before 1st March and due and payable because you record in your accounts and you make payment before. So this is a straightforward case. You just account under 6% O rate. Okay, pay this 6% to government. Okay, self-account. The second scenario, if you acquire the services before 1st March for the foreign architect service and the invoice received before but payment after. This scenario, you still can use the O rate because you can prove the work is before 1st March, okay? For IMTS. Okay, what if you have IMTS acquire but only due and payable after? Means you can prove that the foreign architect complete the work before 1st March, but they give you invoice late. Okay, sometimes that's quite common, especially across the month. So let's say they complete their report in February, but they only give you the invoice. The foreign architect only give you the invoice for your payment, only 10,000 on and after 1st March. This, even though due and payable is on and after, but if you can prove the work is before, you still can use the old rate for the IMTS treatment. Okay, in case you have subcon to overseas, okay, still subject to the transitional treatment. Table 10, to add a bit of complication, is you have IMTS services acquired after, but the foreign architect asks you to make advance payment. Okay, sometimes the foreign architect say, please make down payment only I start work. If you have this scenario, you have to look at table 10 already. Which scenario apply to you? Okay, let's say the foreign architect say, yes, my work is on and after 1st March, but I want full payment in advance. Okay, let's say the scenario is full payment in advance, means they issue you invoice and you make the full payment. Okay, in this case, because you already received invoice from the foreign architect and you also make payment, they give you the concession rule under the saving provision 3E. You still can use the old rate to pay IMTS. Okay, what if they give you invoice, but you haven't made payment? That means advance billing from a foreign architect, they give you invoice already and you record in your books already in February, but you haven't made payment, maybe you make payment now. But because you receive invoice and you record in your books in February, you still can use the old rate. Okay, so the other scenario also is, let's say the foreign architect didn't give you invoice, but you make payment already. Peculiar scenario lah. They just ask you to make payment first. The invoice, they give you pro forma invoice. Pro forma is not a proper invoice. But if you can prove the payment before your IMTS, you still can use the old rate. So these three scenario is if you have subcon payment deal with foreign architect or foreign service provider, foreign engineer, or foreign consultant. Okay, IMTS. Okay. Okay, table 11 is if you have IMTS acquire on and after, okay, and due and payable everything on and after. So this is straightforward case. That means the services from the subcon architect is from foreign architect, on and after, payment after, invoice after, all 8%. This one straightforward. Okay. Okay. Last, the table 12 for spending over. If you have foreign architect bill you for work done before and after. So the rules is roughly the same. Is if your IMTS is for work done after, but if you have made part payment already, then the part payment before, you still can use the old rate. Okay, let's say you engage a foreign architect, you agreed, the value of subcon is 10,000. Okay, but they want you to make part payment for them to start work. So the part payment that fall before, you can still use old rate to account for your IMTS. The part payment that after, then you still use the new rate. This is the general rule of thumb. So we'll wrap up table 12, then we'll break for coffee break so that you have a briefing space a bit. Okay. So IMTS acquire after 1st March. Okay, this scenario will say if you need to make advance payment for foreign architect service, okay, even the work is on and after 1st March, you already paid a 4,000 payment to the foreign architect to start work. So on that note, even though your invoice or services are after, because of your part payment, it become due and payable for IMTS. Your part payment 4,000 is 6%. The remaining after 1st March payment will be 8%. Okay. Then the scenario 2 is if you have the IMTS work all done after 1st March, but you receive the foreign architect bill you partially 2,000 and you paid partially 2,000, then this 2,000 will be the old rate. The remaining will be the new rate. Okay, so those are the general rule of thumb. Okay, then the IMTS spending over. Spending over, the rules will be the portion before 6, the portion after 8. Okay, the table 13. Okay, so this will be for the spending over where you receive the invoice from the foreign architect 12,000. Okay, 12,000, but you know the work is for the work before and after. You see the 12,000, you receive the invoice, but the work is for the portion start in February and the remaining is on and after 1st March, and you only make part payment. Okay, so in this case, because you have received your invoice from a foreign architect, for the IMTS rule is due and payable already. So this you can use the old rate for the entire bill. Okay. Then for the second scenario is if you have this IMTS treatment, but the foreign architect the total work of the value is 10,000. They only give you invoice 1, 4,000 before, and the invoice 2, 8,000. Sorry, there's yeah, correct. The total value is 12,000. 2 plus 10, total value. So they split to 2 invoice, 4,000 and 8,000. Hence, you based on the rules of when is due and payable, 4%, 6% for the 4,000, 8% for the 8,000. Okay. So this part will be the after coffee break, then we will continue. Okay, so let's stop for a while for coffee break, then you break for your transitional rules. Okay. Okay, thanks.
All right, thank you,
Okay.
Chin Chin. Okay, now we have a coffee break. We will be back here. The coffee break is at the rooftop, and we'll be back here at 10:45. All right, see you later. Just to inform you that online on Facebook, the seminar is on. So if you feel that you want to look back at the Zoom later on, the online actually backtrack back lah. Now I call back Miss Chin Chin to
Yeah.
continue. the
Thanks,
talk.
Injeriha.
Right.
Okay. Hope you all have a break. Now we are not going to continue transitional. Otherwise, very heavy guy transitional. But come to tax, it's always taxing. We do because we are in the tax professional life. And every year government announce budget changes. That's our headache start from. We have to analyze the tax impact. Okay. So let's move on something close to your heart. What are the service tax common issue in professional groups, and also B2B, IMTS, just now we mentioned, and some of the group relief if you have a group within the company. Usually professional may not have many group relief because unless you have 2, 3 in the practice. Because of the, I know a bit of LAM rules is, Lembaga has set the rules that if you are licensed under architecture practice, sole proprietor, you can have 1 architecture practice. Unless you are in a Sendirian Berhad, you may have 1. So in this kind of structure, it may not easy to fulfill group relief situations because of the way you're being regulated. Okay. Okay, so let me move on to my slide. Okay, yeah. Okay, so this this give you a overview of what is taxable under service tax. Okay, what is taxable? Remember just now we mentioned that service tax at being how in being structured, we only tax on taxable person that provide taxable service. Very different from GST. GST, everyone that carry on business, you just look at your threshold, 500,000, and are you in the zero rated or exempted business? If you are not, then you just charge. But service tax, you need to look at, are you in which group, the services that you provide, and then the taxable person, and have you reached a threshold? All these are a lot of consideration. Okay, this is a summary chart. Okay, so these are the 10 taxable group and the services that subject to service tax. Okay, and the scope. Come to taxation, we always have to look at the scope of tax because not everything subject to tax. This is another tricky area. That's why I think we need tax professions. Okay, because the scope of tax, it has to be provided in Malaysia, most of it, except for this year, they amend the coaching and training. If you are in a training and coaching, provide for overseas client, then even though you are provided in Malaysia, subject matter outside, will still subject to. But generally, service tax is consumption tax. Consumption tax means you provided your services in Malaysia, and you must be a registered person, means you're licensed for service tax first. Baru you can charge. You must be licensed first, only you have a right to collect service tax. Okay? If you have not licensed, you cannot collect. It's an offense. Okay? And our Malaysia service tax, on top of your billing to your customer, because service tax means you charge to your customer. here there's another scope where the government want you to self-account. Self-account service tax means you engage a foreign service provider. It's your expense. You engage a subcon, you engage a foreign subcon from overseas, foreign architect, foreign consultant to help your business in Malaysia. Anything relate to subject matter in Malaysia, project in Malaysia, and you subcon from overseas, that portion you need to self-account service tax. The name is under imported taxable service. In fact, a lot of businesses are still not familiar this part, even though it started since 1st January 2019. 1st January 2019, okay? Because it's not easy to understand why you need to self-account and then self-report. So it's a lot of self-compliance requirement. Okay. Then your services must be in the taxable services list in the group. Then you better charge your customer. Okay. But for us, we are in G, professional group. For professional group, in general, most of the charges subject to, unless you are charging your customer for project outside Malaysia, then maybe you may be a chance to fall under the exclusion. Otherwise, these are subject to service tax. So this gives you a quick overview of how service tax work. Okay, a quick overview. Okay. Okay, so we have this A to J group. Then these are the scope of tax. Okay. Okay, what is new in this coming implementation of 1st March 2024? On top of transitional, which we have shared earlier, transitional, this slide will show you which are the new services that fall within the scope. Okay, taxation, it means you have to fall within the scope. So before 1st March, karaoke is not subject to service tax. Okay, so now they include in the group C, karaoke center need to charge service tax, and maintenance repair group G is the new item 13. Brokerage and underwriting, Group I, item 12, and logistic services, Group J. Okay, so these are the 4 new services. If you look at it, karaoke is entertainment. Okay, maintenance repair. Okay, this round the maintenance is very wide. All type of maintenance, whether preventive, corrective, all will come into the scope of tax. So if you incur maintenance bill for your office building, office, all this will come with 8%. Okay. Brokerage and underwriting, I have one slide as well. Previously, the brokerage and underwriting is only restricted to financial sector. Now, all brokerage fee and underwriting fee subject to service tax. So the expansion of scope. And same goes to logistic. Previously, only warehouse management subject to service tax under the logistic services. Now, all logistic services, all delivery, transportation, some more subject to service tax because of the new group being created. And this was enacted quite late, 26th of February. Okay. Okay, let's take a quick one. This few slides will share some, this will have impact to your business. Okay, maintenance and repair. This is a little bit of give you background. Before 1st March, only those which is maintenance that require constant monitoring, we call maintenance management, okay, will subject to service tax. So maintenance on certain ad hoc maintenance, building maintenance, common area are not subject. That's why it has been a lot of confusion. Certain maintenance subject to, certain not. So it's a lot of confusion. So to streamline this and also to expand the scope, okay, all maintenance now, they don't distinguish whether you're preventive, routine, okay, ad hoc. So all type of repair maintenance subject to service tax. Okay, from 1st March 2024, the effective date, 1st March 2024. Okay, so this will have impact to the business because if you recur with maintenance bill, right, there will be, previously if the vendor don't charge you, now will be if they license. If their turnover more than 500,000, they license, then it will be 8%. Okay, this will be a cost to the business because not in GST era, we cannot claim back. service tax is a cost to the business. Okay. Except for if you stay in condo for residential purposes. If you stay in high rise, especially Klang Valley, there's a lot of high rise building where the developer, the JMB, the MC, or the RA, if the monthly maintenance bill and sinking fund charged by this body, this fall under the exclusion. They cannot charge you 8%. Okay, if you are a strata title owner, right? RA, JMB, MC, or developer charge you the monthly maintenance and sinking fund, this fall under exclusion. They cannot charge you the 8%. Okay, but if it's a commercial strata title, you don't enjoy this exclusion. Only for residential. Okay, residential use. So if your office are strata title, then the JMB will, in fact, now they already have 6 already. It's increased to 8. Okay, then that's on that note, and the threshold is the same, 500,000. So these are the common threshold, 500,000. Maybe I go back to the earlier slide. You can look at the threshold. Okay, the threshold are quite standard. Most of it is 500,000, except for restaurant setup, F&B group B is 1.5. Okay, so the restaurant that having turnover more than 1.5, they will charge you service tax. Okay. Okay, so the rest are 500,000, the standard threshold. Okay. Okay, next we'll cover the brokerage and underwriting services. So before this, only brokerage services and underwriting services relate to financial services. Those insurance sector, banking sector were subject to. So it's a very restricted scope. Now, they expand this scope because actually in the grouping wise, we already have brokerage and underwriting. So any person that providing brokerage and underwriting, okay, will subject to service tax on the charge. So you may ask me what's brokerage and underwriting. Underwriting a bit specific, more relate to insurance. But brokerage, actually, if you have a chance to look at the guide in the custom, it cover all the deal that if you are intermediary, you earn brokerage fee or commission. It's quite common, right, in business. Sometimes you may earn a referral fee. Yeah, actually before this are not subject to. Now, because of the expansion of scope, the referral fee was subject to. Okay, from now onward, 1st March, the referral fee subject to. So actually they streamline because previously was quite confused. Some not subject to, some. So not easy to follow through for compliance. So now they streamline all brokerage services, whether business or specific financial, as long as they are referring to you as an intermediary. So there's an example here that say, if you are intermediary for client, I do market survey, okay, I give advice, I close the deal for maybe developers and my end clients, not architectural services. This is not relate to your architecture consultancy services charges, but I earn the brokerage fee. You can name as referral fee, commission, right? This was subject to service tax. Okay. So there's expansion of scope here. Okay, only exclusion is relate to medical insurance, brokerage and underwriting relate to medical insurance bought by individuals, or those life insurance policy or takafu certificate bought by individual, or the subject matter goods and land outside of Malaysia. So those are the exclusion. So remember, we're talking about consumption tax. Consumption tax means the subject matter in Malaysia. Okay, because we're charging customer consumption tax. So it's for the consumption in Malaysia. So that's the concept of service tax. Okay, we cannot charge something outside of Malaysia. Okay. Okay. So the logistic services is a new group under Group J. Okay. In your context of business, logistic may not relevant in the sense of your practice, but if you incur expenses where someone charge you transportation, or even as a personal, if you incur transportation, that will be increase of tax rate, because previously logistic is exempted. Okay, a little bit of background. Government want to introduce logistics service tax since 2019. When they first announced the budget, a big hoo-ha. So they put a stop on it. So 2019 until now, this restart back. And to streamline, all logistic services, all delivery are subject to service tax, except for those relate to outside of Malaysia, door-to-door, transshipment, and F&B by Group B operator. That means, let's say you order Grab food, okay? Grab food, because under the Grab, the food restaurant category, the delivery are not subject to service tax. But if you order Grab Mart, okay, the store under Grab Mart is not under F&B operator, although it may be same group, but the service tax treatment is they need to charge service tax. So that's the distinguish, because delivery charge by the F&B operator are excluded from service tax because they want to reduce the impact for rakyat. Okay, so if you order food, they charge you delivery fee from the food store, no service tax. Okay, but you order food from, let's say, My News Family Mart. They are not restaurant setup. They are convenience store setup. So the delivery fee charge are subject to service tax at what percent? 6%. Logistic is 6%. Okay. So, and the rest, let's say you do a renovation or you buy fixed asset, right? They charge you delivery. Now, if you look at the bill, they don't charge you 6%. But after 1st March, those that fall within the threshold, those are having a turnover more than 500,000, they will charge you delivery charge plus 6%. 6. Logistic is under 6 because it's essential service. So under 6. So food, telco, logistic, okay, also under 6. Okay. So so the logistic, if you really look at if you have time to look at the custom guide, they have one very thick guide for logistic. So the definition basically very, very wide. Okay, because the logistic cover airport, ship, port management, warehousing, and also those fall under logistic. And the delivery charge for goods, delivery charge for documents, okay, registered courier, custom agent, all these are fall within the scope of logistic. Okay, so this gives you a little bit of head start of what's the key changes. So previously, all these custom agent, courier, warehousing is under different group. This year, the 1st March onward, they streamline, pull all this into one grouping. That's why logistic have a big hoo-ha over the last few months. In fact, now they still have engagement with custom because the big changes in the logistic group, the regrouping, as well as expand the scope. Okay, this is the service tax regime issues, unless we go back to GST. Okay, service tax regime, we still have to deal with taxable service, taxable person. Which one is in the scope, which one is not in the scope. Okay. Okay, so 3 other area I'm going to touch on is imported taxable service. We call IMTS. Imported. You import services, and the services is a taxable services from overseas. Okay, this is called IMTS. And Group G, professional service. What are the key issues to take notes, and the facility that provided for us Group G player and the group relief. Okay, IMTS. What is IMTS? Because the objective for IMTS, it was introduced back in 1st January 2019. If you recall, our SSD U-turn is in 2018, right? When there's a change of government. Okay, the IMTS introduced in the 2nd year. Why? Because they want to put everyone in the same level playing field. Because if you, let's say you take a subcon services for Malaysian, okay, you get a subcon to a Malaysia architect, they will charge you if they are licensed service tax in Malaysia. So they don't want Malaysia business to go and get foreign service provider that don't charge service tax. So then everyone will go and try to get from a foreigner to provide subcon service. Then government lose out on the service tax, right? So that's the reason why they introduce IMTS. Put everyone, the service provider, in the same level playing field. Whether you get your subcon locally, which they charge 6% because they're licensed, or you get from overseas, a bit more work for you lah. Okay, you have to self-account IMTS, self-report, self-report, because the overseas service provider cannot charge you service tax, right? They cannot charge you Malaysia service tax. So you have to self-account for the payment that you make to foreign service provider. Okay, so this is a self-reporting mechanism. Okay, so it's quite common concept. In the GST era, in fact, we have this similar concept. We call reverse charge, means you charge your own self. Singapore also have that. So it's quite common in the other tax regime as well. So it's not something peculiar only in Malaysia. Okay, so imported taxable services, again, what is the scope? You need to check the nature of services that you pay to an overseas provider, whether the services fall within the scope of taxable. Okay, remember the group, the 12 group. You pay taxable services. You as a Malaysian in Malaysia, you acquire it for the purpose of your business. Okay, from overseas. Let me see. Let's say I give you an example. You acquire a foreign architect. Okay, architecture service is fall under group G. Okay, so that is taxable service. You as a business in Malaysia, you are carrying on your business. Okay, you acquire it from overseas. Okay, for the purpose of your business, for the purpose of business. Then you fall within the scope and you need to self-account the service tax and pay to government. Okay, self-account and pay to government. Okay, so this is the mechanism of the IMTS. Okay, don't confuse with withholding tax. Withholding tax is under income tax, another piece of law. This is Service Tax Act. Okay. So the concept will be, this is the diagram from outside of Malaysia. For purpose of business, you acquire the subcon service, can be a architect, consultant, management, project management. Okay, even though when you're using apps, okay, the apps digital service also fall under the scope of IMTS. Okay, now we are in the digital world, right? We use a lot of services on the apps, and most of the apps are from the vendor outside of Malaysia. So the apps provider, only thing is for the apps provider, some they have quite charged you. If you look at the Microsoft bill, they already charge you 6% already. The Netflix, Google Space, Google Drive, they already charge you 6% because they already licensed under digital service tax. Then you don't self-account because they already charge you Malaysia service tax and they remit, because we have a digital service tax in 2019. Okay, but assuming you ask me, if you buy you acquire the services for your personal consumption, let's say you build a house in Malaysia, but you go and get a Singapore consultant to come in for your own consumption, your own house, for example, okay, then that is for your own consumption. You don't need to go and self-account your IMTS, because you are not carrying on business for that contact. Okay, only for the purpose of a business, you need to charge your expenses to your company account. That portion will fall under IMTS. So this is not straightforward, but along the way, as long as you have payment to foreign service provider, this is one of the area for compliance. During audit, they will look at your ledger, whether you make payment to foreigner, and whether the payment of foreigner fall within the scope. So they will calculate if you forgot to pay, this is the part that they can collect back with penalty of 40%. Okay.
Okay, IMTS, how you account for and when is the service tax due? The rules a bit different from your normal service tax reporting. So your normal service tax reporting is you issue invoice, right? Your first 12 months, you will enjoy that period where customer paid you, only that month you report. That is the normal service tax reporting when you bill your customer. Okay. This is not, this is self-accounting. Self-accounting, so they have a different set of rules, okay? Because the scope of charge also different. So in the case of IMTS, is you have to compare, okay? Because this second bullet point is for in the case normally when you bill your customer, okay? The third point is talking about in the case of imported taxable service, the taxing point is you have to monitor whether you make payment first or you receive invoice, whichever is earlier. Okay, let's say your foreign architect give you an invoice and your accounts girl pick up in the ledger this month. This month is the month that you need to report IMTS. Okay, if you receive invoice. But sometimes they may not give you invoice first. They say, pay me first. Okay, pro forma or email to make down a part payment. If the payment comes first, is that month trigger IMTS. Okay, so that's the taxing point that you need to take note. So this is the example. You get the foreign service provider IMTS in April, but they give you invoice in June. Okay, you haven't made payment yet, August. So in this example, is your invoice will be in June. So your IMTS you report in May to June if you are taxable person. If you are taxable person. If you are not registered, means for those that you haven't got your service tax license, then the reporting a bit different. In my next slide, I will show you. Okay. Give you a head start, may not go into detail, otherwise you'll be a bit confused. The scope, as I said, IMTS is you need to look at the taxable service into Malaysia. Okay. You as a taxable person mean you are service tax licensee. Okay. Then you self-account and you report in your service tax return. What if your practice has not been licensed yet? Below 500,000, you haven't licensed yet. You still need to self-account. Okay, doesn't mean that you must be service tax licensee. The self-accounting is applied to everyone in the business. Okay, only thing is the timing is different. Okay, so the value is based on your invoice value, usually for non-related party, and calculation is based on your prevailing service tax rate. So if you acquire foreign architecture service, then it's professional group, then 8%. Okay? Foreign architecture service, those that relevant to your practice is usually 8%. And the taxing point, as I mentioned earlier, when payment is made or invoice is received, whichever is earlier. Okay? So these are the rules that your account people need to know. Those that handle the reporting. Okay? And it's monthly basis, So it means whoever help you to finalize the book need to know the rules. Because if not, the missing that month means tax. Once you miss the period, means wrong reporting already. Incorrect returns means trigger penalty. Okay, unfortunately, tax rules work in that way. Wrong period means incorrect return. Incorrect return means there's a penalty. Cross period, cross period. So you must know which month is the correct month to report. If you engage foreign service provider, if you are all local, then you don't have this headache. Okay, your whoever help you to do service tax reporting or finance function need to know this. Okay. Okay, when should you pay IMTS? Remember, IMTS, not customer pay you. You came out your money from your own pocket and pay to government. No. Okay? So not customer payment, is you have to account. So if you are service tax licensee, follow your taxable period. Include in the SST return for that month, that bi-monthly return. if you are already a licensed under service tax. But if you are not licensed under service tax, the person who are not taxable person, POPTTP, then there's a special form called SST02A. You need to report on the monthly basis. So this month transaction, they give you the last day of the following month. So let's say, assuming you are a new architecture practice, you haven't reached the 500,000. Okay, so you don't need to collect service tax from a customer, but you get foreign service provider for some subcon. This you still need to account for it under this form, SST02 on monthly basis. Okay, so this is a service tax reporting. Okay, and if IMTS is not comply, the penalty will be imposed as if like the normal late payment penalty. So I'm not sure whether you're familiar with the penalty mechanism. Okay, first 30 day, 15%. I mean, the due date is 30 day normally. After you miss the first 30 day, 15%. The next 30 day, 10%. Another 30 days, 10%. All in, 40%. So service tax, assuming you under report 1,000, cross over 3 months, 40% penalty. It's very heavy and it's very fast. 3 months already trigger 40. Income tax, sometimes incorrect return. Now we still start with 15%. Service tax, wrong month, cross border, more than 3 months, 40%. And very heavy because usually, just sharing from our audit experience, the mistake will only pick up maybe few years later. And usually the mistake will be recurring mistake because it's a transactional tax, consumption tax. So yeah, you will be keep on repeating the same issue until someone pick up. Can you imagine the penalty impact? The roll over 40, 40, 40, 40. Okay, that's why when we carry on business in Malaysia, we need to know the service tax compliant and to equip the finance with the knowledge of the tax because the rules will change on a yearly basis. Our Malaysia budget means yearly changes. Not like Cambodia, they don't change that frequently. Our Malaysia budget means every budget announcement, income tax change, service tax change. Okay, so 40% is the repercussion, especially for service tax or consumption tax, even GST. It's very important for the business owner to know the taxing rules. And you don't get a account clerk that don't know service tax. You get an accounts clerk that do your invoicing okay. But for the reporting, if they don't know the rule, how are they going to report the service tax correctly? And it's at your risk, you know. Because the penalty, custom don't play mercy, you know. They are really by rules, you know. Okay? So the penalty can be very hefty. Okay? I have a client, a real life scenario, a spa owner, used to be GST, in the GST era, been licensed under GST, but because of the change of government, he moved to service tax and busy with the business, forgot that he didn't license for service tax. Because it was not automatically switched. Some got automatically switched, some didn't. And it turned over already few million. At the moment he calculate the service tax that he forgot to collect and the penalty 40%, he said, I can go bankrupt. So they are actually busy restructuring the whole thing because the government can go back 3 years for the service tax non-compliance. Okay, so that's why service tax is a very critical area that for business owner to know because any mistake, usually the mistake will repeat on. Okay, because it's a transactional tax. Until the person that who do reporting or do accounts that handle service tax, they know the rule well. Otherwise, until someone pick up the mistake. And the repercussion is heavy, 40% penalty. Tax, maybe you pay back, you still can absorb, but the penalty if you roll over and it's on every offense. Okay, let's say year 1, you make this mistake, year 2, this mistake, the third year, same. Doesn't mean they give penalty on the first offense. It's every offense 40%. Okay, so that is the main critical point on the service tax compliance. Okay, so this part I have covered already just now. Okay, this is a quick illustration that this dynamic architect, a consultancy firm in Malaysia, they acquire foreign architecture consultancy service from PTABC from Indonesia to provide consultancy for project in Malaysia. The keyword here is project in Malaysia because the subject matter is in Malaysia. Okay, so you have to evaluate that your underlying service, is it a taxable? Okay, remember service tax is based on taxable group. So it's consultancy group G, professional service. Okay, so when the Malaysia architect firm receive this invoice from the foreign, this PT ABC, you need to self-account IMTA on the above consultancy. So if you acquire this month, means 8%. For the one that before 1st March, that just now we go through the table 8 to 13, right? You go back to table 8 to 13, then those that fall under concession rule, you can use 6% for the before. Otherwise, from now onward, the new IMTS all 8%. IMTS 8%. Okay, so this will be some costing that you need to know. If your project, you acquire foreign service provider to help you, you don't only account for the foreign subcon cost only. 8% is your cost. It's your costing. Okay, because service tax is your cost. Okay, we can't claim back unless we go back to GST era. Okay. Okay, let's touch a bit on the Group G, professional service, before we wrap up with the B2B and the group relief. So for Group G, professional service, you are very familiar with 500,000 threshold. Just one point here is, if you are in Group G service, you can be provide management, architectural service, and so forth. All these services share the single threshold, 500,000. They share a single threshold. All these 13 services under this Group G, one threshold only, combined threshold. Okay, because in your architecture practice, maybe you may be also build some management services, or you also may build some consultancy or training. Okay, because these are all the business model. Like even us as a tax profession, we have tax work, compliance work, we have coaching work, training work. So all these share one single threshold. So you have to keep track the 500,000 on the combined basis. Okay, if you provide multiple type of services within the group in the same legal entity. Okay. Okay, so just now we have mentioned about maintenance. This is a new one. Okay, I won't go into detail. So this is for your quick reference. Okay, what is also expanded and maybe relevant in professional group is if you provide training and coaching, there's some changes in the rules. Okay, because the general rules before these changes is if you provide training or coaching to your overseas customer, subject matter is outside of Malaysia, you don't need to charge service tax to your overseas customer. Now, 1st March, they exclude it only, exclude that part for training and coaching. So for training and coaching business, if you have overseas customer, you still have to charge service tax. Okay, only for consultancy, you have some exclusion. Okay, how it works is, okay, the taxable service, you know, all these are lock, stock, and barrel consultancy training. Okay, this is taxable, but the exclusion is the one that they make the changes. Only consultancy services relate to healthcare. That's why your healthcare services are not subject to service tax. And consultancy services relate to goods and land situated outside of Malaysia. Let's say you charge your customer, your Indonesia customer, consultancy work for architectural work relate to project in Indonesia or Singapore or Australia. The subject matter is outside of Malaysia. Although you issue invoice from Malaysia, at that piece of work, you don't need to charge service tax because it's fall under the exclusion. Again, you need to keep records. Okay, because you don't charge the tax, you need to keep record to prove that that work is relate to subject matter outside of Malaysia. Okay, and when you help your client collect, take the statutory fee and you charge client back, that government fee also you don't need to charge service tax again. Okay, the government statutory fee that you pay on behalf of your client. Okay. Okay, so this slide show you the changes before 1st March. Okay, even the training coaching outside of Malaysia will be excluded from service tax. Now only consultancy. Okay, consultancy work relate to outside Malaysia, goods and land, your project outside of Malaysia or matter outside of Malaysia, this will fall under exclusion, means you don't charge this overseas customer service tax. But training, why? They said training, you can provide remote training. So from here, especially after COVID, everyone like to do online training. So the government want to collect the service tax on this piece of income. That's why they changed the law to give them the power to charge. Okay. Okay, so this is the example that for those that if you provide training or coaching for overseas customer, the treatment is even though your customer is Thailand customer, right? And you provide your coaching and training for Malaysia, you remember to charge your customer service tax 8% on and after 1st March. Okay. Okay, let's move on to B2B before we go to the e-invoicing. Okay, are you all familiar B2B exemption? Sorry, before I start B2B, are you all familiar with business to business exemption in your architecture practice for service tax? There are very new jargon words for you all. Oh, okay. And in fact, this is not new. It started since 2019. Okay. Are you all usually engaged sub consultancy work or sub architecture services in Malaysia? Right. Your subcon charge you service tax? Do you all pay? Oh my God. Double service tax. Yeah, this is called double service tax. Okay. Okay, so I have a diagram to show you. Okay. Okay. So actually under the law, ever since 1st January 2019, when they reintroduced back service tax, they already provide this facility in the Service Tax Act. Why? If you recall GST era, you have the input tax to claim back, right? So the GST is not a cost to you. But service tax is a consumption tax. So it's a cost to you. Anyone who charge you with service tax is a cost. It's part of your costing. But if you are in the same supply chain of your services, you engage subcon to provide to your customer, right? There's no way for you to claim back service tax. So that's why they introduced B2B to reduce the impact of double service tax. Okay? Because they cannot introduce, for political reason, they cannot roll back GST. So they twist the service tax to allow to have B2B exemption. So that in the same type of services or same project, if you can prove it's the same type, I get sub architecture B to help me on this work because I may have manpower issue, not enough staff, I don't want to recruit. I get another architect to help me on my work. They also license and they charge me and I charge end client. So if they bill you and your on bill, actually there is the double service tax in the service flow. Okay, so this B2B is to help professional group particularly to avoid double service tax. Okay, how? Yes, same. Group G. Group G, you can. Yes, can. Yes. You see, Group G. Yes. Yeah. So you need to evaluate first to see whether are you in the same type. There's some rules to comply. It must be same type of services. I mean, architect and architect, engineer and engineer. If it's different type, then you cannot use B2B. Architect and engineer mean a bit tricky. If the engineer, is it also provide architecture service? Then you have to look at if an engineer provides services to architect and architect subcon. can. Unless means that you are not only doing architectural work, you are doing some project work also. Then your service type need to change because you are not pure architect already. Your services could be, yes. Correct. Yes. Correct. So then your services is only not pure architect. Your project management as well. Okay, then your service tax type need to also add the project management because you are not for that particular billing, you are not billing as architecture consultancy. And you say you are as a lead consultant, right? Lead consultant means you play a management role as well, project management role. Yes, because it will impact your B2B if you want to claim B2B. Okay, maybe I walk through B2B, then we come back. Okay. Okay. Okay, how B2B work? Okay, actually starting 1st January 2019, so long ago. Okay, means in group G only, professional services group. Okay, except for two category in the professional group is the employment agency and the security services only. These two, they are not allowed B2B. The rest, architect, accountants, management, project management, all we qualified under B2B. Okay, and advertising service. So this is the technical jargon lah. Okay, technical jargon means the services must be all the taxable service. Remember the 13 group except for these two in the column 2, and the condition is both party must be registered person. Okay, they charge you means they're registered. You charge your customer, you also register. By virtue of B2B means you already suffer service tax, definitely both are registered. Then only you can use B2B. And, okay, and you want to claim B2B, make sure both of you have the same service type in your custom portal. Just like I said, I'm a main architect. I have another architect consultant to help me to provide subcon work because I not enough resources. Then this is a very clear-cut architect and architect, both under same type, I can claim B2B. But if you are project management role, then there's a different scenario. Okay, and the condition is not for own consumption. Means this is for you to on bill to your client. Okay, not for your own consumption. Okay, how to distinguish? I have a slide on that. Give me a minute. Okay, taxable person under the group G is all this. Okay, these are like lawyer, public accountant, but it has to be same type. Lawyer and lawyer, accountant and accountants, engineer and engineer, architect and architect. It's same types. Okay. Okay, exclude employment or private agency. These are the conditions that I mentioned. I'll revisit in a short while. Let's show you a diagram. Okay, this is a straightforward position where you have an architect, you have a client engagement here. You bill your architecture services, professional services to your customer with service tax because you are registered. But let's say in the case that you do engage another architecture firm to help you to provide some form of work relate to architecture practice, and they are also architect, and they bill you for the same project. Okay, so if no B2B means they will bill you 6%, become your cost. Then here you bill your customer again. So it will either eat up your profit or you add on become another higher costing to your client. So this is the impact of double service tax in the same project if you don't claim for B2B, and if you are qualified, definitely you have to qualify for exemption. Okay, so this is clear-cut scenario. That means I have a project, I bill customer, I don't have enough manpower, or for certain reason I need to engage another architect to help me on the same project, and they are also licensed under service tax. Okay, so let's say they bill me 10,000 with service tax, 10,000 plus 600. I bill my end customer 100,000 with 6%, 600. So actually you can save the 10,000 plus 6% because it's the same project. Okay? But you must tell this architect say, I want to claim B2B. You don't bill me. Okay? If not, they will just bill as normal. So you have to initiate that to your subcon vendor to make sure both of you are qualified for B2B. Okay? So I have few clients have know that. So they already started B2B. But B2B, you need to comply with the conditions. Both party register. No, B2B is self-compliant. Your invoice, your subcon only. Hey, don't bill me. I want to claim B2B. Just make sure you do the necessary for B2B. So there are some condition here. Okay. So let's say you assess already, you qualify for B2B. Then you tell your subcon, say, I want to claim B2B. Both of us are in the same service type. Let's say that billing is for architect practice charges. Then the subcon will not bill you service tax. Your subcon need to do the reporting under B2B. Okay. Then for that, you can save the service tax on this portion. Okay. The subcon. Reduce your cost. Okay. So this is the concept of B2B. Okay. It must be same group type if you are billing for architect. Just now, the lady have actually shared engineer and engineer also can. Even like accountant, we have accountant and accountant. So we get the subcon for accountant to do some similar work, client work. So we have the B2B as well. Okay. Yes. Because they are not licensed, right? And they don't charge. You have to initiate and to tell them, I want to claim B2B. If you know very clearly it's a subcon work for the same project, that means for, let's say, project A, okay, I engage with customer. So I sub this project A a bit of drawing work to the architect. So that subcon is also architect practice. They must be also registered under the architect tax code under the custom. Both are the same, then you can claim, you can tell the subcon, don't charge me, I want to claim B2B exemption. Okay. Yeah, here. Okay, give me a minute. If you tell your subcon, say, I want to claim B2B, your subcon need to do this. So because they don't charge you, in their invoice, they need to put additional particulars, which normally customer name is definitely there. But they need to put your your service tax registration in their invoice for audit purpose. Okay, and also to put the amount that exempted. Okay, so for example, the consultants, the architect bill me 10,000 under normal circumstances, they need to charge 10,000 plus 6, right? Now 8%. Okay, 10,000 plus 8. So means 10,000, 8%, extra 800, right? But if you want to claim B2B, then they will only charge you 10,000. Okay, so the amount of service tax that you save is the 800. Okay, they just need to put in their invoice bottom there amount of service tax 800 being exempted. They just need to put in the invoice only. Okay, and anywhere in the invoice will do. It can be a remark column or create a small table there will do. As long as you display this. No, anyway, your subcon will bill you. It's already in the invoice name already. Okay, and they also need to declare. Okay, they need to declare the value that they don't charge service tax in their service tax form. So these are two additional work for your subcon to do. It's quite easy if they're using system because system can tag a examiner code. Manual, then a bit extra work for them. But if the amount huge, worth the efforts. Okay, for big projects. Okay, because there's some reporting process for the subcon. Not very difficult. It's quite straightforward. Only thing they need to know. You see, When it's for own consumption, means, for example, architect firm engage accountant to do accounting work. You outsource your accounting to accountant to do. So even though both we are in a group G, right? We're in group G, but because the accountant is providing services to architect for architect own consumption, because doing account for reporting is own consumption. This type of work not eligible for B2B. Okay? Not for you to on bill to customer one. For you to on bill customer is this scenario. Okay? Okay. Okay. Sorry. Your main, this is engineer. This is architect, this is engineer. Okay. If architect, you engage subcon as engineer, means your billing to customer is not pure architect work, right? Okay. So this is the scenario that we want to tackle. After you understand the basic concept, now next level. Sorry, I didn't draw the diagram on that. Okay. Okay. So let's say you're architect, you bill your customer, but actually the component of your services, you need another engineer to help you. Which means, can you share a little bit of the nature of your work when you bill your customer? Progress claim. Power planner. Okay. Sub-consultant. Okay. So which means for that piece of work, you are not acting as pure architect role. Because the town planner, if I recall correctly, it fall under engineer scope of work, right? Or consultancy. Planning act. So it's a consultancy work. Okay. So on that note, consultancy also eligible B2B. Okay. So you have to really evaluate that the nature of your billing that to your client, if that project is a consultancy project. Okay, the consultancy, then your code is another code. There's another code under service tech. You need to add that into your code. And your subcon actually does the same piece of work, a portion for the same project. So if your subcon, you want to ask them to claim B2B, they also has to be in the same code at the consultancy code. No, it's very straightforward. You go to, because your subcon is registered, you just go to the portal at consultancy because it's the same piece of work. You have a, what you call multidiscipline project work in that. This is not a pure architectural, straightforward piece of. Yes, go to a portal at the profile. Both are consultant, then you activate your B2B under a consultancy, not under architect. Yeah. Yes. Yes. Correct.
In all the consultants need to update their profile in the SSE to add in a common code, which is, I think the most common is to be
consultancy.
So everybody also have the same code.
Yes, then only you can claim B2B. Correct. For the project work. Okay, for project work where you require a lot of consultant to work on the same project. So that will help you to reduce the cascading effect on the double service tax. Because we don't have the mechanism under service tax for the input tax claim. So the only way they came out with this B2B, but there's a little bit of conditions and compliance. Okay, because a bit rigid for group G. Because if you look at group G, means you must be same type, they say same type for that subgroup, engineer, accountant. Unless that piece of work is consultancy, then this is a bigger scope. Not like logistic lately because all the hoo-hoo-ha-ha. Logistic also have B2B, but logistic, they give a bigger scope to play with, means anything relate in the same group, they allowed to claim because logistic also have subgroup. But for professional, if you want to claim B2B, your subcon must be in the same type.
Based on because recently people get the client to engage to a lawyer in
Oh, okay. Oh, that one is a review agreement already, which you don't charge the client, right?
lawyer said they want us to put it separately.
Uh-huh.
But let's say the client said, no, I want the billing wise, I'll put everything together. So can that be done?
That one a bit tricky, because it may be, they may construct that as a review for the agreement. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
The lawyer has put it separately,
Mm.
although the original proposal is asked to include that services.
Yes, yes.
So we already clearly tell the client, no, okay, we can include your services, but billing wise, it would be separate.
I see.
Directly from the legal firm to bill you.
That
So-
if that at least then you don't need to claim B2B because it's already direct. Yes.
Let's say, so, based on the, all the services,
Yeah.
okay, because if let's say we want to put it very specifically consortium services.
Yes.
and all type, will they, like, the easier term is using consultancy.
Yep.
But will custom query the word of consultancy because in the way it's actually the engineer providing the professional engineering services.
Mm.
The quantity surveyor is providing professional quantity survey services.
Mm.
But although at the bigger term, even architect is also providing professional architecture services. But can we just lump everything at the word consultancy services?
Okay. Because if you can prove it's for the same project and the nature is we work as a consortium consultant, technically concept why they will allow. But if the value is huge, you have another option. You can go to the custom to get a ruling. There's also a facility because if the amount is huge, then it's worth the effort to get a written rulings on a hypothetical basis for the project. Say that because you take on this job as a lead consultant, because the custom introduced B2B is to avoid cascading effect on the same project, because the whole concept is in the entire supply chain for the same customer project, one service tax collect only instead of double service tax. Yeah, that is the whole purpose of B2B. So if for the consortium project, I mean, if you can prove that it's actually for same customer, but because for contract purpose, they're being structured in that way. The customer don't want to deal with so many sub-consultant, especially consortium project, you can have more than 10 type of sub-consultant. You play a lead consultant role. So how the treatment will be, particularly in a very huge project, there's a avenue for you. Okay. Yes. Yes. No, but because by virtue you are architect, you also will have job that build under architect, pure architectural consultancy, isn't it?
Okay.
You have two codes. Definitely. Correct. Consultancy or project management. Yes, consultancy and project management usually are the common that cross the border, overlapping.
Alright.
Yes.
Okay, maybe we can revisit this Q&A because actually the online cannot hear any of our questions from here.
Oh,
So it's not fair on the online.
okay.
So maybe we can proceed with this. I know that this quite a lot more slides and we even haven't gone into the next,
Yes.
which is the e-invoicing.
Yes.
So please proceed.
Okay, okay.
And we revisit the Q&A.
Okay, okay. Can so the same concept of B2B can apply for your IMTS. That means acquire from a foreign architect. You need to acquire from foreign architect for your same project you build to. Under normal circumstances, you need to report service tax under IMTS, right? So if you can prove that the foreign sub architect is for your same project that you build to customer, you also can claim B2B exemption. So you don't need to account for that piece of IMTS. Again, you have to keep the records that the foreign architect bill you, for example, for the same piece of work. Okay. Okay, so B2B is a self-compliant. Self-compliant means you don't need to apply to custom. Okay, you make sure you comply with the condition, then you can claim that with the vendor, your subcon. Okay, no certificate required, but the subcon will have to do some compliance works. Okay, they need to include in the invoice and the report in their service tax reporting under item 18C part D. Okay, custom will audit them. Just a little bit. If you have B2B customer audit, just make sure you keep your record will do. Not difficult. We have quite usually came through custom audit. They just want you to prove it's for same project, same code. Okay. Okay, so this is just a template where they report in. Okay. Okay, in summary, maybe I'll visit this slide later. Let me touch on the group relief first. Okay. Group relief, as I say, in most of the architectural setup, you may not have group relief scenario that commonly because of by virtue of how you're being regulated. If you're sole prop, you have one license. If you're Sendram Berhad, you maximum can have another. That's all right. You can't have multiple group in the company that provide same architecture service unless you're professional service or consultancy service. Or engineer, yes. Engineer, you don't have that regulation under LAM. Okay, sorry, for the group relief, the concept, I just go quickly on the concept first. Okay, because we have 1 more hour for the e-invoicing. Okay, group relief means if you are providing services within the group, okay, you must be a group member because of the structure, then that services, although it's taxable service, it's treated as non-taxable service and you don't charge service tax. Because between group member, let's say I provide accounting services to my subsidiary, okay, I own 100%, okay, that I can prove the equity ownership, then I don't need to charge. But for you to claim this group relief, you must comply with the condition because you cannot provide the similar services to the non-group member. And if you provide, it can be more than 5%. It cannot be more than 5% rules. So a bit tricky if you want to claim group relief because if you have a third party charge, chances that you may lose the monitoring mechanism and then you trigger penalty. So, okay. So group relief, again, these are the group. Under group G, you can claim group relief except for employment and security services. Okay. So these are the 2 categories that excluded that cannot eligible to claim group relief. Okay. So how group relief work? I have a diagram later. The condition is the party must show the control. So let's say company A is a holding company for B. Okay, Sendram Berhad and Sendram Berhad. Sendram Berhad and Sendram Berhad. So A hold 100% of B subsidiary. So if they provide services within the group, just now the group, okay, then there's an option for you to evaluate whether you can eligible for group relief and you don't charge your subsidiary. That means you treat it as non-taxable. That's how the concept of group relief. But for control purpose, more than 50% subsidiary, straightforward, you can eligible. But if it's not control, mean associate company or joint venture company, then you need to prove another condition that you can appoint or remove all the majority of the director in that company. If not, then you're not eligible for group relief. Okay. So for nominee arrangement, this scenario that debenture holding hold on behalf, this will not qualify for group relief. Okay. So this is a scenario that you can do a quick checklist, which company within the group you can eligible for group relief. Okay. I won't go through too detail. Okay. Actually, the group relief has been actually improvised in 2020 because before 2020, if you want to claim group relief, the condition that you cannot charge the similar service to third party. Even RM1 will trigger non-compliant. So very difficult to comply group relief before 1st January 2020. But from 1st January 2020, they allowed 5% rules. The 5% rules means if I charge my subsidiary 100,000, I cannot charge the party more than 5% of what I charge the subsidiary. 5%, let's say 100,000 means 5%, 5,000. You must monitor very closely that you cannot charge the party on the similar services if you want to claim group relief. Okay, so that's why all this facility has come with some conditions. Okay, this diagram will show you, for example, okay, the service provider is C here. C, provide legal services to the company within the group. Those in the circle is within the group. Means the C, okay, is actually, C actually hold by the L Berhad, 21% only. But the L Berhad actually have a power to remove the director in C. So even this 20 to 50%, but because you can demonstrate the power, L and C is same group. Okay. B, L, and B1 is straightforward, subsidiary. Okay. And C provide legal services to the L, B, B1. Okay. Under normal circumstances, C need to bill service tax. Okay, provide legal services because legal fee is a taxable services. Okay, but because if we can prove it's group relief, okay, and you want to save the service tax for this L, B, and B1, C can claim group relief. Means I don't charge L, B, and B1, but C was subject to 5% rules. Means C cannot bill the legal services to third party more than 5% of what they bill. So it's very tight condition. 5% also very tight. If they claim, unless C is only 100% to internal, no billing on third party, then it's easier to comply. Okay, so that's the concept of group relief. Okay, if those are consultancy within the group. Yes, it's complicated. Okay, so I think we end the session 1 session. You have to raise the Q&A now for
I think together later lah, then straight away.
E-invoicing.
E-invoicing.
Okay, then we can move on to E-invoicing session 2. Hey, sorry. Because I need to switch the slide. Very taxing, very taxing. So now we move topic to E-invoicing. Okay, maybe while they're fixing the slide, have you have a chance to look at the E-invoicing model that proposed by IRB? Any clue on E-invoicing? Okay, so
Most of them, I think we all invoice through email.
invoice through email. So that is not E-invoice. That is just the electronic way of sending invoice to your customer. So in the E-invoicing landscape, there's a definition of E-invoice. Okay, you are not sending the invoice to IRB. You're sending the data to IRB. You're sending the data to IRB. How scary, right? When you're sending a data means, can you imagine how much data is going to send? And In fact, when e-invoice are fully implemented next year, especially 1st July onward, everyone will be in e-invoicing next year. Okay. Every time when you raise an e-invoice to your client, right, not pro forma, IRB already have the data in their portal already. Yeah, this is the whole gist of the e-invoice. Okay. And when you buy a piece of Rolex, the vendor will say, give me your name and IC. I need to issue e-invoice to you. And the name and IC detail will go to IRB portal. Okay, for high value item, not grocery, grocery no. High value item like booking bag, Rolex. I buy obviously no lah. That's the low. Okay. But remember, they already introduced a rule when you bring it back across the custom, unless you wear it, you wear it. If you bring it as if like a gift, then they will have the small value duty that imposed as well. Okay, unless you open up and use it. Okay. Okay, so let's change the topic, e-invoicing. Okay. So actually, the e-invoicing has been introduced in the budget 2023, not budget 2024, 2023. They already announced the intention of participate in e-invoicing because e-invoicing is not a Malaysia project only. It's a worldwide project. Only thing is every country adopt in a different timing and adopt different model of e-invoicing. Some, like Singapore, they only adopt for B2G only. Business and government project, they adopt e-invoicing. Okay. But other countries like Thailand, Vietnam, all these are these 2 years. They are going to roll out e-invoicing in these 2 years. Okay, whose idea? European country has started this. If you have this chart, actually the European country already started e-invoicing quite some time. Okay, quite some time. So eventually, even China also had the 发票, right? The 发票 is also e-invoicing. It's just that they name it as 发票, but the concept is still e-invoicing. The real data sent to IRB, okay, on the near real time. Okay, because now we are still on the conventional reporting. IRB won't know which customer you bill. Every year, you just report your income based on Form C or Form B or Form E or Form P, right? Depends what type of setup you are. They only know your total revenue, total expenses, your profit, that's all. Okay, so IRB don't know who is your customer, how much you bill per month. So when e-invoicing start, heavy piece of invoice data go into IRB. So for those that didn't submit account on time, actually every month they know your revenue billing already, you know. Okay, and to add a bit of stress is they are going to make the whole business community as you have to chase each other for e-invoice. Why? If you want to claim expenses, you need an e-invoice from your vendor. So let's say your subcon pay you want to claim deduction. When next year they will change the law, proof of expenses. You need e-invoice in order to prove the deduction. So it's like you are chasing each other for e-invoice. Okay, yeah. So that's the gist of the e-invoice. A bit like GST already, because GST you need tax invoice to claim input tax. You're chasing each other for tax invoice. Just that our GST cannot come back so soon, right? So we have this e-invoice to start first. Yes. Okay. Even next time you claim personal relief, they will try to make the merchant also have the code say, okay, you buy laptop for your personal consumption, there's a code for it. They can even flow that code to your personal tax return. Okay, to that extent, they want to digitalize. Okay, let's start a little bit of background. The government agency that's going to drive the e-invoice is Lembaga Hasil, not custom. GST era, custom drive the reporting. e-invoicing income tax lembaga drive. Means what? They can access your income reported on time, how much you report. Okay, right? I timely report. For those that didn't submit account on time, then they already have your revenue and they can estimate and raise the assessment. Because for government, the benefit of e-invoice is also encourage compliance. So, and MDEC is supporting the digitalization process because of the e-invoice involve a lot of data. They need to certain authority for mapping, especially the large player. Okay. So actually, in the whole world, more than 40 jurisdictions already start this digitalized e-invoicing, especially the European country. It's the Asia and Asia Pacific is the one that we are start to adopt the e-invoicing. So actually, in the Asia Pacific, our neighboring countries, Vietnam, Thailand are all putting up the project plan these 2 years on the e-invoicing because it's a benefit also to government. Okay. When actually the e-invoicing is the preparation for GST to come back, because when GST come back, you still need tax invoice. So it's a prep. We see it as a preparation of the journey that GST coming back. Because when GST come back, you also need tax invoice from your vendor, okay, for your purchases. So it's a preparation for GST U-turn. Okay. Okay. So e-invoicing is not invoice sent via email to your client, not PDF invoice sent to your client. So it's actually called electronic invoicing, where the data in the e-invoice will extract and send to IRB for validation. Once they validate, it will be kept in their portal as a valid e-invoice. Then they will send the notification back to you with the code. Then you can release this to your customer. Next time, your customer will say, after 1st July next year, because they go by phases, your customer will chase you for e-invoice for payment. Pro forma is only for verification. Okay? They say, you don't give me e-invoice, I cannot claim deduction, I'm not going to pay you. So, which means IRB have your revenue details or no? Okay? This is how the flow of e-invoicing work. So, it's not e-invoice in PDF. And when you issue e-invoice, okay, you have an option to using your accounting system that map to the IRB website. They will come out with a module. Okay, if you are not using accounting system to do your account, then you have to go to the IRB portal. I will show that in the slide later. In summary, is they need the data in the two format to be sent to IRB for validation. Okay, so the concept of e-invoice is not the normal layman understanding of e-invoice. Okay, is the electronic transfer of data system to system. Depends whether you use ERP system or if you are not using ERP system. Most of the professional player like us and in the group G, we may just use the normal accounting system to issue invoice or sometimes even Excel. Okay, you still doesn't mean that you must change your system. Okay, the key part is when you issue e-invoice, you must either issue directly from the IRB portal, you have an option there, or through your accounting system that map to IRB portal. You have two options there. Okay, if you are using the system like SQL, AutoCount, or other larger player, they will come up with a module for you to sync your invoice details to the module to the IRB portal. So they are in the process of testing. May and June is the testing period. Okay. So the concept is now, before e-invoice, you see your supplier, service provider, you are just invoice each other. And these are all the four corner model that currently people will just exchange e-documents. Okay. So you'll probably just send the documents over to end customer for payment. So with the e-invoice, the document exchange, they're going to standardize all the data field. I'll show you the data field, then you'll know how scary the data will be collected and sent to authority. So in the gist of it is to standardize the collection of data in your invoice and send to customers. So everyone will comply with same set of data field. There's a set of data, a field that the compulsory and optional field. They want to standardize the invoice content for e-invoicing purpose, because for system to work, you have to standardize. Otherwise, the system will not able to flow efficiently. So doesn't mean you need to change your system. Only thing you need to know that whether you want to improvise your process or not, so that you don't need to end up with extra work. Either you use your accounting system to map, or you do manual invoice portal issuance process. There's something that you need to decide. Okay. Okay. Malaysia adopting one of the standard specification of the data format from the PAMCPD authority. So PAMCPD has been largely used in all these countries like Belgium, Denmark, Norway, UK, Singapore, Australia. Okay. So we are adopting this, where MDEC is a PAMCPD authority. For those that large player, they can't afford issue invoice from IRB portal because too many invoice. If you imagine hypermarket, okay, or even the large player, so their accounting system will do a mapping, integration with the data portal in order to transmit the data to IRB, because they cannot afford to issue again the e-invoice, otherwise too voluminous. Okay, so this PAMCPD authority to create the interface for the large player, okay, to work on that. Okay, so the concept, how this work. So on the left-hand side is the business, and the right-hand side is the authority. Okay, so when you, let's say a service provider, okay, you can issue your invoice through accounting system, ERP system, or even manual. If manual means you got extra work, you have to go and key into the invoice portal here. Let's say you're using accounting system, SQL or AutoCount. Okay, they will invoice. You will issue an invoice to your through a system. Then they will actually make available this module. Okay, they will come up with this module interface. That means they extract the data from your accounting system. They will send through the API. It's an interface system created by IRB to capture the data, go to the IRB portal, and need to be validated by IRB. Means the data field has to be complete. Validated by IRB, then they will notify back to you, say, okay, your invoice validated. You can release this to your customer. Means you see the process of sending the data over, means they already know your billing details on real time. Okay. Okay. On your payment, you don't need to do e-invoice. Only invoice to your customer. Okay. You need to send in to validate, means to some form of approval from an authority that they capture the data, that this invoice detail already validated. You can release this to your customer as a valid e-invoice, because your customer will chase you for valid e-invoice after 1st July next year. If you are in the phase 3, I have a timeline chart in a short while. Okay, so your clients, assuming they are in the same portal, next time with the PIN number being keyed in, they may try to work in the direction that they can automatically receive also. This is something that they're trying to achieve, to see the digitalization can really work that well. Okay, this part. Otherwise, you can email the validated e-invoice or the QR code. They will also have the QR code for e-invoice to be sent to your client. You don't need to send hard copy or invoice to your client already next time. Okay. Okay. So why this started? They want to digitalize, standardize the data that collected. Okay. And the framework is the interoperator framework, because it's a data format. So it can be interoperated framework, and all the service providers trying to get it on board and standardize. Okay. And this will help the business to digitalize the business. Digitalize to improve efficiency. But the main crux of it is increase the compliance. Okay, a shadow economy, which they don't issue invoice, right? All this when the business player in the supply chain will change each after for invoice, all this will be a driver. And on a real-time basis, government will have data of the revenue of each company. Okay, each company. And so far, in the model that being rolled out, no threshold. Okay, no threshold means what? Even the goreng pisang seller at the roadside, maybe every month they only earn 1,000. If you go and if you need to claim your purchase of goreng pisang from a company, you need an e-invoice from them. If not, you are buying for own consumption, then the goreng pisang seller, let's say every month they earn 30,000. You have to report the 30,000 to the IRB on monthly basis under consolidated monthly. So every business owner have a responsibility to participate in the e-invoice. Okay. Okay. So these are some of the benefit to taxpayer per se is you standardize your invoice, you try to digitalize, you take this chance to streamline. I know profession is very busy, but yeah. So these are the area you need to take note how you streamline your processes, particularly in the 1 year time the e-invoicing going to be embarked. Okay. Okay, maybe I should go through the timeline. Okay, you see the original plan, we have a longer time, From January 2024 for the pilot, first player will be 1st June on board. The small SME will have time until 1st Jan 2027. That was the original plan. That's why we have a longer time to prepare ourselves. But the budget 2024, it has been shortened, In the less than 18 months, everyone will be on board from budget 2024. So if we look at the timeline, phase 1 player, 1st August, those large player turnover more than 100 million, less than 5 months. Okay, and we are doing the e-invoicing training for large player. IRB portal is not ready yet, still in testing. And phase 1 player need to be ready by 1st August. So they are the one that facing the headache first guinea pig group, 1st August. Let's see whether the system work well or not. Yeah. Yes. Huh? I mean, we are quite busy on the ground to provide the e-invoice for the large player. Those are listed clients, they have the more than 100 million. So they are quite worried on the readiness of the portal. Malaysia boleh. So portal say they will, the IRB team say they will get ready by May for testing, June, July for testing of interface. Let's see how it goes in the next 1.5 months. Okay. So even the large player are still try and error at the moment. So that's why after 1st August, we'll see how the system really can work. Okay, because large player, the volume of transaction is also a lot. Okay, they have to interface to the data. Then the second phase come in also less than 9 months time, 1st January 2025, and the all other player will be 1st July 2025. Less than 15 months time. Okay, so do watch out closely on the second half of this year, so that at least it give you a head start of how e-invoicing timeline, whether still stick to the original timeline. Okay, because you can see it was actually moved from 2027 to 2025. We actually move forward for all the professional player. We will be either in 2 or 3. Okay, most of the professional group will be 2 and 3. Okay. Okay. So how to determine the threshold? The threshold that just now I mentioned is based on your 2022 records. So it depends on your setup. If you are Sendirian Berhad, based on your audited report 2022. If you are sole proprietor, partnership, you don't need audit, right? you are using category 2 without audit report based on your Form C reporting. Sorry, your tax return form reporting. You better B, P, all right? These are the common category, B or P for partnership, or LLP. Okay, LLP also without audit report. Okay, if you have change of year end during this, then you have to get your accountant to help you to apportion. Okay, to determine you are in a phase 2 or phase 3. Okay. Based on 22. So you may ask me, 2023, my turnover shoot up how? No, they're still based on 2022. 22, yes, after lockdown. Yeah, after lockdown. Okay. So it's basically 3 phases only. First 2 based on turnover, the rest is below 25 million or in phase 3. 1st July 2025, less than 15 months time. Okay. So not much time also, if you say 15 months. Once busy, because professional, we are very busy with your work. One blink the eye, one cycle already. Okay. So, okay, who are the person exempted from e-invoicing? Okay, so those are the lucky group. So DBKL don't need to issue you e-invoice. Okay, they are encouraged to do if their system is ready. But the ruler, the Sultan, Consul, state government authority, okay, statutory authority or body like SSM don't need to issue you e-invoice. Okay. Then facility by government, consular office, or individual who is not doing business. Because individual not doing business means they are not registered as sole proprietor partnership or LLP. They give probably a freelance services to you. Freelance services to you, they don't need to issue you e-invoice. But there will be a bit extra work for you. Next time, you have to do self-bill. Yes, if you want to claim the deduction of those that don't, if you engage a freelance consultant, help you to do some your project work, they bill you 10,000. They don't give you e-invoice. Okay. Next time you have to do self-bill under the self-bill reporting because of proof of expenses. I'll touch on that later. But yeah, a bit of extra work there. Okay. Okay. So okay, let's move on to offense first. I touch on offenses, then I go into the e-invoicing. Okay. Actually, 2024, they have changed the law to include the definition of electronic invoice, the duty of business to issue e-invoice, okay, and the requirement of the receipt for those that doing B2C. Okay. And what's the offense and penalty? And last is the classified person. Okay, I'll touch on it one by one quickly. Okay, the law is actually impacted Income Tax Act. Okay, effective 1st January, they already changed the law to include the definition of e-invoice because the phase 1 player this year. So they have to change the law this year. Okay. Okay, this one I think I don't need to go mention. Okay, what's the definition of e-invoice? It's actually electronic invoice that issue in relation to goods sold. I mean, a business sell a goods, you need to issue e-invoice. Or a business providing a services, okay, you need to issue invoice. And the invoice must go through the electronic transmission process and validated by IRB. So that's the definition. It means next time they will say, if you want to claim your expenses, you need electronic invoice proof from your vendor. Means that invoice has actually gone through the data process to the IRB, validated already. Okay, validated means captured by IRB already. The data already captured and the QR code there also. Okay, so they have to provide a definition in the law. Yeah, it's really and okay, for the retail player, especially you imagine Aeon. They cannot afford to issue e-invoice for every customer. So for those consumer do not need invoice, consumer sector only, B2C, the business can still, the Aeon can still issue receipt to you. So there's a responsibility that if you are B2C, okay, you just issue receipt on the counter, but the Aeon on monthly basis have to report their revenue to the government 7 days after the close of calendar month. So every month, let's say in an Aeon scenario, Aeon don't issue receipt to you because you just buy it for own consumption, buy veggie, buy oil. You don't need e-invoice. Okay? But Aeon need to report on monthly basis the revenue to government through consolidated transaction invoice, monthly total. That is for B2C. But professional player like you and me, we are not in B2C. So we are required to issue e-invoice for every transaction here. Once you implement electronic invoice, you don't need to issue receipt again, technically. Okay, it's every transaction, no bug. For us, professional player, every invoice. Okay. So you must issue invoice for every transaction, and the content is not as you like. It has to be as prescribed. Not as you like. Well, I want to emphasize that because the law always like to use as prescribed. Okay, prescribed means the IRB give you the prescribed field. You need to determine which is relevant to you, those mandatory and non-mandatory field. Okay, those mandatory you must fill out. Okay. Okay, the offense, tax rule always come with penalty offense. So the offense at the moment is a fine of 200 and not more than 20,000. Plus, I don't know why they're going to include this, imprisonment not exceeding 6 months. Okay, so this is the general offense rule for invoicing if it's not compliant. Yes. Clerical error. Okay, clerical error, you are talking about in the invoice content or the value. Okay, value, then let's say you issue the invoice wrongly, the value wrongly, they will allow you 3 days times 72-hour rules to cancel the invoice. Okay, means you need to have someone to keep an eye on the approval process. Or if really miss that boat, you still can issue CN, credit note. You still can do credit note, or under charge you use debit note. Okay, I'll go through the document tab shortly. Okay, a bit more scary part is in the e-invoicing era, the disclosure of info and exchange of info between two government agencies. Okay, previously, if you're familiar with the tax system, Lembaga is government agency for direct tax. Custom is the direct agency under service tax. They don't interchange their information. I mean, what you report in service tax, IRB don't know. Okay, what you reported in income tax, custom don't know unless they request. With the e-invoicing implementation, they already changed the law to allow a custom access to e-invoice. Okay, the exchange of information. Okay, so this is the one part, enhance the compliance efforts that have been put in the law. Okay, to allow a custom to access to inner revenue e-invoice detail, basically the revenue details. Okay. Okay, let's move on to the e-invoicing documentation. So these are the areas you need to take note in the e-invoicing implementation. Guiding document means all the guide. What type of e-invoice transaction subject to e-invoice reporting? The transmission, what kind of data transmission portal? Document type, what are the documents under e-invoice category? What are the field and the system process? So I'll walk through fairly quickly. I know the time is running out. Okay. So in summary, the government has started to release the guideline on 21st July. But as time go by, they have already updated the guideline very few round already. Okay. I move on to this. Okay, you can go to the IRB portal, you tap e-invoicing. There's this few version of guideline, but the latest one is the Chinese New Year Eve version. Chinese New Year Eve version. Okay, the 9th of February. This will be the latest if you want to read the e-invoicing guide. Okay, 55 pages there. Okay, and the specific guide about 100 over pages, I think 115, also released on Chinese New Year Eve because they need to release this for phase one player to get ready on any latest changes. So which means the phase one player is now at a very intense mode already. Okay, less than 5 months time. Okay, and the software development kit is the data transmission, the programming words. The beta version, which is the testing version, just also released on Chinese New Year Eve. Okay, so that's now the ball start to roll over for phase one play to start to gear up to do the preparation, because before all this, the beta version has not came out. Everyone was hoping the delay on 1st August. Very likely they won't delay. Okay, very likely they won't delay unless the system really down. So these are the beta version, but not for you and me to read because it's all the IT language there for the vendor to do lah. Okay, just give you a head start. Okay, they also issue some FAQ. The last year version has not been updated. They will update. We foresee they will update again in the next few months. Okay, industry-wise, they only issue industry FAQ for healthcare sector, construction, e-commerce, telco, and petrol. So manufacturing, professional, retail, they haven't issued the guide yet. So there are also a lot to catching up. Okay, you see the latest version is only January. Okay, okay, e-invoice transaction involve who? Basically, all business transaction were subject to e-invoice, whether you are B2B, B2C, or B2G. That means business means yourself, carry on business. You charge whether your customer is business or your customer is consumer. You may be doing some advisory work for individual owner not doing business, like renovation project sometimes. Okay, you also have to issue e-invoice. Okay, and B2G. Okay, only thing is B2C, the retail sector have some concession rule of using consolidated to ease their business process. Okay, otherwise the buying grocery key the my name I see transmit. So I think all the front end business will jam out. So that's why for the retail side they have these concession rules. Okay. So in summary, what is e-invoice? It's a digital representation of the transaction between supplier, service provider with a buyer or a customer. Okay, digital representation means what? They collect the data. Okay, you don't send your PDF invoice to IRB, you're sending the data to IRB. Okay, so e-invoice will replace a traditional and electronic document because in fact, once you have validated invoice, they will become with QR code. You can just send that to your customer already. Okay, that's how the e-invoice work. Okay, and remember the definition of e-invoice. It has to be validated by IRB. Validated means the data captured by IRB, and because e-invoice is very crucial. Okay, if the data sitting in IRB portal haven't approved, means you'll be waiting for that approve only you can release to your customer for payment, right? So the concept is they want to do it real time, near real time. But whether this can be done, we have to wait and see on 1st August. That's the target they want to achieve, near real time. Okay. Okay, so the data that the software provider that they're going to come out it has to be only in these two forms, XML or JSON file format. So we are not sending data. This is just an output only. This is the output of this. So XML and JSON is all the data field. Okay, so if you are using accounting system, they will come out with a module in these two. They will pull the data and send it to IRB for validation. You got a validated e-invoice, then only you can give to your customer. Okay, So this slide show you the concept and the function of e-invoice. Okay. You as a service provider or supplier, you need to issue e-invoice as a proof of income, proof of you generating this income. Okay, so e-invoice, it works as a tools to prove your income because you also want to collect that from your customer. So you need to issue e-invoice to your customer. Okay, whether it's B2C, B2G, B2B. Okay, you see, everyone will change each other. Why? They are going to change the law next year. The law has not changed now. Next year, after everyone in the e-invoicing landscape, the rules will change that you must have e-invoice for proof of expenses. This is the scary part. Okay. For personal relief, for business expenses, you need the e-invoice. Okay, not the normal receipt from your vendor anymore or pro forma invoice. You need a proper e-invoice for tax deduction purpose. Proof of expenses mean for tax deduction purpose. Okay, means your finance team or accounts team must be diligent enough to go through. But this will be next year, not now. Just give you some head start on the law will change to facilitate. Okay, then another extra obligation for business owner is if you engage a freelancer that not in business, they didn't give you e-invoice, the freelance or kakak in the office help you, you just pay payment voucher, pay wages, right? Kakak is not individual carry-on business ma. Okay, you pay kakak 1,000 a month cleaning, they don't give you e-invoice. So IRB need you to self-bill yourself. Means what? You go to the portal, key in kakak, I paid kakak 1,000 cleaning expenses, their passport number. Okay, self-bill, send the data over. Okay, what will affect the kakak? The kakak, this office earn 1,000, that office earn 3,000, the other office. So kakak never report tax, ma. So IRB will know that kakak earn how much a year. So this is under self-bill if you paid to someone not carry on business and not your employee. Your employee, you don't need to do self-bill because you have an EA with. So with the e-invoice coming in, you can see your salary cost is covered through employer reporting. Your transaction with the freelance, you need to do self-bill. Your direct costs, you chase them for e-invoice. It's cover the entire reporting landscape. Okay. Okay. So these are 4 document types that you need to go. You need to familiar yourself. Invoice is your main document you bill your customer. Credit note, there's a prescribed usage, as well as prescribed usage for debit note and refund note. Because I'm not sure how familiar you're with this, but going forward, e-invoice era, you cannot freely use debit note, credit note freely. Okay, so you need to issue e-invoice to your customer because why? It is a commercial document to itemize your right to charge your customer. Okay, so and e-invoice includes self-bill, means for those that, as I mentioned, the example of kakak or freelance consultant. Okay, because why they want to include these categories a lot, they didn't report. Freelance, part-time work, part-time consultant didn't really report. By doing self-bill, they capture the data. Everyone want to claim you self-bill. IRB at the high side will collect data from everyone. Okay. So credit note. You can only issue credit note for the purpose of correct the error. Just now the example said you issue already, there's a clerical error you notice, then and you miss the 72 hours, you can use credit note to correct the error to reduce the charge. Okay. Or sometimes discount. Your customer asks for discount. Okay, you use credit note. Okay. Or goods return. In the service industry, no goods return. Okay, this is more for goods return scenario. Okay, and for credit note, is used in a situation when it does not involve return of money. Means the customer pay you and you return money. Okay, usually professional sector you don't have this that frequently lah. Okay, Because why? If you involve return of money, instead of using credit note, you use refund notes. This is a new document type. Okay. Debit note. Debit note only can use when you undercharge your customer. Means you issue e-invoice before already. Okay, now you issue debit note in case you undercharge. You're supposed to charge 120, but your staff charge 100. Now you issue debit note on the 20,000. Unless your customer asks you to cancel, then you have to CN the whole first one, then you issue a new invoice. Depends on your customer arrangement with you. Okay. Last, for refund notes, the usage is a bit peculiar. For refund note purpose is in case you have the customer pay you upfront. Now you need to return the money to them because the project cancel or so forth, and you agree to return to them. If you involve actual money flow, you have to use refund note. So these are something to take note when you plan your business process next year. Okay, it will affect some of your internal processes. Okay. Okay, what's the data field? I won't go through detail. I just touch on the main one, but 55 data field that you need to go through. Which one relevant to your business? Okay. Okay, as usual, your name will be there, your customer name will be there. But for e-invoice purpose, you need to get your customer tax number, customer TIN number. Okay, if it's corporate, you need to get their corporate number. Okay, and if you got SSD registration, you have to get their SSD number as well. Okay, for others like tourism is hotel sector. Okay, in your e-invoice, you need to disclose your MSIC code, your business activity, okay, your customer TIN number, and your buyer TIN SSD number, contact details, and so forth. Your contact is definitely there. Then if you are using system, they will actually preset for you. Okay, version, data, and all that. Otherwise, all this, when you key in manually in the portal, you have to select. Very cumbersome. Unless you use a system, there are some field that they help you to data field. Okay, that's why if you're using manual invoicing, then when you come to, if your monthly invoice not much, still maybe you can try on the My Invoice portal directly. But if you have volume of invoice, then all this data field you need to key into the IRB portal. Okay, because the master data will not repeat. Okay, so the classification is a special code for certain transaction. Okay, description and all those. So you have to go through all these to see which is relevant in your business scenario. But the one highlighted in green is optional, and the one highlighted in beige is if it's relevant. The rest that not highlighted in white means a compulsory field. Okay, so the gist of it is you need to go through this data field, okay, to make sure you have the data when you want to issue e-invoice. Because if you, let's say today, let's say in e-invoicing era, you want to e-invoice, you don't have data, you cannot get the validator out, then your invoice process will be delayed. Okay. Okay. I think for professional, we don't have much on this scenario. The ad hoc scenario, there's another 12 data field. This is more for manufacturer or goods, where there's a, if you sell to this customer, but the customer asked me to send to the other place, they also want to keep track to that end customer. Yeah, they have to disclose additional field, even income tax number for the end customer. Okay, this is the how whole thing work for the import and export. Okay, the flow. Okay, so this is the e-invoicing flow. Scenario one is the common flow, where you need to get all your customer required detail for your e-invoice. Okay, then you issue the invoice either through IRB portal or through your system, accounting system. Get the validation code back from the authority. Then you can share the step 3 is share to the customer. Okay, by the time this process, the IRB already recorded the data. Okay, then your customer can scan using the QR code and to substantiate the deduction for purpose. So the end game, the item number 5 is next year they are going to change the law for proof of expenses. The law has not changed now because we are going to start phase 1 this year only. Next year, 2 phases come in, they will change the law for proof of expenses. Okay. So scenario 2 is for those B2C, B2C where they issue consolidated. They just do monthly reporting. Okay. So next time when you spend bill in a restaurant, you want to claim from your architecture practice deduction, you have to request from the restaurant e-invoice. Means the e-invoice data field is this. Okay, you need to provide your company name, your tax number, so that you get the e-invoice out, only you can claim. Yes, just like your GST era. Remember GST era? You need tax invoice for input tax deduction. Okay. 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 So these are the processes. You have 6 processes to go through when you want to issue e-invoice. Data must be there in order for you to successfully issue, okay, get the validation, okay, either directly or indirectly for API. They will notify you, and once it's successful, you can share the invoice. And okay, once you got this validate, in case your staff make a mistake, clerical mistake, you have this so-called golden 72 hour to rectify that invoice. Means you can cancel the invoice. Okay, so that the wrong data won't record in IRB. Extra 10 or less 10, for example. Okay, so if that 72 hour being tracked, you can cancel, you raise a new e-invoice. Okay, but if you miss the 72 hour, means you have to use CN or DN. Okay, so these are the processes that you need to put in place. Next time when you issue invoice, your account staff have to monitor closely. Or you can plan your timing or issue invoice so that they keep track 72 hours properly. Okay, you have the golden 72 hour to cancel errors. Okay. Okay, so these 2 are the mechanism that you can transmit the data to the IRB. This is the portal. The My Invoice portal is free of charge. It's a government portal. Every business will need to create a login and user account. Okay, you can issue invoice directly, but a bit later because you have to key in all the data field for each invoice. If you are using system, at least the system can help you to capture the data. Recurring customer, you don't need to key in so frequently. So that's the option that the system that use API or another data transmission model. Okay, so API is for those that using interface, large player, they will use this because they either have to customize to their business scenario, or they like AutoCount, SQL, those accounting system, they will design a module to do this API for you. Okay. So these are all the 9 steps, which roughly I have mentioned just now, that to complete the entire e-invoicing workflow. Okay, 9 steps. Okay. 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 Last, I'll just touch a bit on the cell bill. As I mentioned, there are also 8 scenarios that for the expenses item you need to do cell bill. Expenses are not your income that you issue to your customer. So these are the area that you need to take note, because on the time constraint, we won't go into detail, but this is just a quick high side of areas that you need to take note. The cell bill got 8 categories. If you pay agent, commission, dealers, or if you import goods, your subcon from foreign architect. Remember, if you engage foreign consultant in your business contact, you need to do cell bill also. Okay, if you're subcon to oversee or engage foreign service provider, that also need to fall under cell bill. So on top of your IMTS service tax, you have this cell bill and you have withholding tax for foreign transaction. Okay. So e-commerce transaction, betting, acquisition of goods from individual, the KAKA example. Okay. And the some transaction that allow you to bill on monthly basis for rebate may not applicable for professional. And if you need to pay interest to someone, that also there's a cell bill scenario that need to take care. Okay, going forward, when the law is changed, proof for expenses, the employee staff claim, director's claim, Okay, usually, employee claim, nowadays, just normal receipt. When they change the law, the employee claim hotel, traveling outstation for the business trip, he need to have e-invoice. Only thing, they give a concession, the e-invoice sometimes may be in your staff name. Okay? Okay, instead of company name, they allow concession that the e-invoice can be in the employee name. So they will come out with some guideline on which are the concession rule apply. But this is a head start for you, that a common example. So it will affect your staff claim process as well when they change the law of proof of expenses. Okay. Okay, so importation of goods and services in our professional sector is if you involve acquisition of services from overseas. This also, there's a sell bill reporting. Okay. Okay, so I think the sell bill part I won't go through detail, but I can leave it to you all to read. So in summary, is if you engage foreign supplier, foreign service provider, foreign consultant in your course of business, e-invoicing, you have to do sell bill. Okay. Okay, so these are some tax incentive given by authority that they will give MSME digital grant. 2024 version has not approved yet. I mean, to release and approve. So up to 5,000, you can invest in the system and claim the grant. And if you actually incur this capital expenditure on purchase of your hardware, software, they allowed you to claim earlier. Okay. 4 years to 3 years on the capital allowance. And if you incur expenses on the e-invoicing consultancy fee for implementation for SME, you are allowed for deduction. Okay, only for SME, a large player that engage, for example, we help large player on the e-invoicing implementation, they are not allowed for tax deduction for our consultancy. But for SME, they allowed the deduction on this. Okay. So how this will impact you? E-invoice will impact these processes. That means you have to review a processes, okay? Your e-invoice, your staff claim, and also. And technology. Are you looking at new system or improving your system version to help you to digitalize your business? And very key is yourself and your staff. The finance staff who involved in the e-invoicing has to equip with the knowledge. Otherwise, the mistake made, there will be penalty on the owner. Okay. Okay. So these are the processes. These are some of the sharing of steps that for larger organization is good that you have a project team, because if it's multiple department involved, if you are involved multiple department. But if it's a professional practice, usually you focus on your finance or business owner or maybe HR. Okay. Okay. And to evaluate those processes that affected by your e-invoicing, including next year, the expenses claim process. Okay. In order to make your e-invoicing implementation successful. Okay. So these are some of the key sharing steps that you need to study your scenario. Can you issue consolidated sell bill? Is it applicable in your scenario? Your invoice format, how are you going to using manual, direct through portal or system for your e-invoice, data collection? You do have all your customer detail with the TIN number, address, all this. Okay. And prepare the internal process like debit note, credit note, who control the 72 golden hour. Okay, who is actually, Malaysia got a lot of public holiday, right? Okay, so if you issue invoice on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you already missed 2 days. If Monday is a public holiday, means gone. Any error? CN. Then CN, provided you remember to CN. So that's the processes, that part you need to look at whether, and also to avoid issue e-invoice on the public holiday if, because you are going to miss your 72 hours. Okay. So the system part, the interface, the data capturing, okay, and the cancellation process, 72 hours, okay, and the law will change. Malaysia always have the version being updated from time to time. So you still have times next year. Okay. Okay, where you can get all this info, go to the IRB website. There's a button here, E-invoice. Click there. Okay, that's all the link there. Here. Okay. So guideline is here, all the reading. If you can't sleep, you probably can go through this and start. Okay. This SDK is the software vendor. Okay. And you can try to raise your query there through the QR code. Okay. So I think thank you very much for your have an extended time. Okay. Yeah. So I pass the floor back to
Okay,
Chair
thank
Park.
you, Miss Chin Chin. We were supposed to finish at, I think just now 12:30, but now 12:30 just finished all the slides.
Yeah.
Now maybe we will have take a few Q&A,
Mm.
maybe about half an hour. And then from there we ni lah, stop lah.
Yeah.
Okay, are you
I'm fine.
okay? Yeah?
I'm fine.
Appreciate,
Very-
Miss Queen.
Okay.
I think we straight away go to the floor lah, because I think the floor has a lot of question.
So,
Nick, is there another mic?
Oh, back to the floor. Mm.
And thank you very much, Miss Jin Jin, for sharing, especially on the 8%. I think a lot of my members
Yes.
really interested on the
Treatment.
the B2B.
B2B.
Yeah, because this is something familiar with, unfamiliar with from
Yes.
them.
Correct.
And also this e-invoice is something totally new for us.
Yes, correct. Because e-invoice, in fact, phase one player are very actively now try to understand. In fact, a few PLC that we are working on, they are also try to understand in detail. So next year will be a gear up mode for the rest of the player. But it's good that you know a bit at the back this year, because actually if you're looking at the time plus all the busy time schedule for all the professional have, you only technically have about 12 plus 3 months next year.
Yep.
Yeah.
So maybe we like to open the floor. Any questions? Miss Mumtazah wants to ask.
Yeah, I think we have shared the slide. Yeah, so Pam can distribute the slide.
So how the participant can request to Pam direct or for the email?
Pam online.
Cakap ni.
Use email pamonlineseries@gmail.com. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, there's question there.
Hi.
Hi.
I would like to ask.
Can share name and also.
I'm architect Siti Nolina.
Hi.
Okay, I would like to ask the question that was raised earlier on regarding some of our services whereby the architect is employed as the leading architect.
Yes.
And we need to get all the other sub-consultants.
Yes.
Like engineer, QS, planners under us. And all their fee comes under one fee when we claim to the client. So when I asked my accountant, she said that, when I receive the service tax, I have to pay. And then when my sub-consultant issue their invoice to me, I have to pay them out of my pocket.
Yeah.
Because we are different groups.
Yes.
So that is correct.
Okay, if you are in different group,
Yeah.
that's why one of the condition for B2B is you must be in the same group. So if you are only register yourself as architect, means you're billing to your customer as architect, consultancy fee. And if you have sub-consultant with various discipline of services, they will bill you as maybe engineering, others. So then you are end up in different group. So the key is you evaluate your project document to see whether for that particular billing, is it a project consultancy work? Or is this pure architecture? Because pure architecture, you won't end up getting engineer to help you on the work, right? But if you are
for the project, but because they right now, because you were suggesting just now that we should register under consultant. Or
If,
management.
if you are providing project consultancy. So that's why you have to look at your agreement.
Yeah, I mean, like in this condition situation,
Yes.
we are the lead consultant.
So your lead consultant,
right?
you need to go back to your service tax portal. Did you also add your service tax
Okay.
type as
Now, let's
project?
say this situation has happened over the years, right?
Yes,
And we have not registered as a
Yes,
consultant,
correct.
and we only register as architect.
Yes,
So that means
you are not
it's
eligible.
not
If
eligible.
you do, because there's although on surface you may be qualified, but because of the conditions that you need to be registered in the service tax custom portal on the same service tax type, if you don't register, then your vendor also don't dare to give you V2B.
Okay,
Because
so
both has to be in the same service tax type.
okay, like
Mm.
in the current situation now that we learn that we can also register as consultant.
For the
So,
project consultancy
Yes,
work.
and then all the other consultants, engineers, QS, they also need to register as
Yeah.
consultant.
Only if both of you are in the same group,
Mhm.
same subgroup, only you can claim B2B for the same project work that you done.
Okay. Recently, myself and my friend,
Yeah.
we have called custom
Yes.
to ask this scenario.
Yes.
When I asked if there are any way that we can avoid having to pay double taxation,
Yeah.
he said there's no other way. So
Actually, the B2B is in the professional service tax guide. If you go to our custom website, my SST, in the industry guide, you click the professional, it's in there, and B2B is there. Okay, that's why sometimes if you call custom, the guide helpline may not understand your question. They just give you a very
does understand.
simple
He does
answer.
understand.
So our practice is usually if you have this situation, either you walk to the custom office, give them your scenario, they will pull the correct branches officer to share with you. But it's good that if you check the guide is an official document, binding on the authority. Okay, so that's how we tackle, and the law has provided B2B.
Okay, now for the situation whereby all of us, that means myself and the sub-consultants register as consultants.
Yes, for consultancy services.
Yeah, so there is, I mean, this is like instant, is it? Like immediately you get
If you are a registered person now, you just go to your portal, add service tax type. But is it that the custom portal not so straightforward? You need to go through some steps, add, refresh, and make sure it's added. That part you can always ask the custom help on the online part. Just add the service tax type.
Okay. Okay, no problem. I mean, for the future, in the past, it's gone case.
Yeah, past you can't claim back
Okay.
because it has happened and then your reporting had over. If you start to claim back, then you'll trigger audit, which
Yes, I
no
know.
one liked it. Yeah.
We have experienced that. Thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's a good question because it's our oversight. This B2B started early January,
January
of 2019. And then literally that's 1 year custom maybe didn't actually inform us. And there's no 2020 and 2021 doesn't exist because it's pandemic,
COVID time.
COVID. So there was no engagement. So literally 2023. That's why I think when you say it's very long, it's actually there's no engagement between all of the parties. Yeah.
Yeah.
I went to a briefing organized by custom, and I asked exactly the same question to the pengarah custom.
Okay.
So he didn't tell me that I should register as consultant. He said, yes, you have to pay twice, unfortunately. And I referred, I told him that because I went for that briefing when GST came back to SST.
If it's 2018 not yet implement, it only started 1st January 2019. If you say in that second half of 2018, not yet B2B. 1st January
Benda baru
2019
ni,
only
ini benda baru yang keluar.
So depends the timing.
Yeah.
Because the law that when the SST 2.0 U-turn, it was mid of 2018, right? Then this B2B only started 1st January 2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sure nobody noticed because that time we were changing government too many times.
Yeah. A lot of big hoo-ha.
Yeah. Any more questions from the floor? Yes.
Actually, I had two questions.
Yeah.
My name is Architect Alexander Paul. The first question, what if the main consultant, the Pao Kaliao one, like we like to say in the market like that, is not registered party, means it's not registered SST, but the subcon is. He will not charge the client for 8%, but the subcon had duty to charge. What will happen?
Then it's become your cost.
Oh my God.
Because
so we need to
B2B
cover that.
condition is
Okay.
both your subcon and you as a main lead consultant has to be registered person. Means you are both licensed under SST.
So you means that when we had to self-report in that case?
No, unless you are voluntarily registered yourself.
No, we already registered. They say the
Main
guy,
consultant.
the main consultant is not, that scenario.
Okay, a main consultant, let's say A.
Ah.
A get the job from the customer.
Yes.
Okay. A is not registered under SST. Okay. So you don't have a right to charge your customer because you are not registered. But you engage a subcon, say B. B is a registered person. So they are supposed to charge you. So because if you want to claim B2B, the condition involved must be registered. So that in the whole supply chain, only one SST charge. So in this case, you don't charge your customer, but the subcon charge you is in your costing already. So you have to work out your costing and you don't charge customer again. There's no double service tax. In this flow, in your scenario, no double service tax.
Okay.
It's just that your project costs a bit higher.
So you're
because
trying to say is that the second tier consultant need to charge SST to the main consultant? Yes. Assuming I am a subcon, I am the second tier consultant. The first tier consultant, the main con, actually do not have not registered.
Yeah, the main con no SST because the threshold below 500,000.
Yes.
Okay.
Let's say I will make assumption here.
Yes.
Okay. Because it happened.
Yes, true.
So what I'm trying to say is that the top guy is not the SST register, but we are. We had to charge him, right?
Yes, you have to charge him.
And he had to pay.
Yes,
Okay.
you have to pay.
Okay.
They have to pay you.
So
because
that is
you registered, you provide services to them. So you are registered, you provide services, you have to charge them. Unless they want to claim B2B, they have to inform you.
Okay.
Then both of your assess whether you meet the condition. Then only you don't charge them, but you have to comply with the B2B reporting requirements.
Okay. That's first question. I think I had the answer already. The second question, just now you mentioned that when the invoice issue, after 12 months from the date of the invoice being issued, if the client did not pay the SST, we had to self-pay.
Yes.
What if not only the client don't want to pay after 12 months, in fact, they dispute the payment.
Okay.
They say that your invoice is not valid, or
Correct.
they dispute that actually you are not entitled.
Yes.
That kind of situation.
Yes.
So at the same time, we obligate to pay that.
Yes.
Something that the kind of dispute might, what I'm trying to say, it might end up a negotiation. Everybody sit down, lawyer to lawyer, and then you strike off 30%, but at the same time you have to pay, So how to handle that situation?
That's why with the rules, because the rules has been set there. If you issue invoice, let's say January, by December, your customers still haven't paid you. In the month 13, you have to pay the service tax from your own pocket. Okay. If you have any dispute, the best is between the first 12 months, get the agreed figure first. Okay. But the rule of thumb is month 13, you must pay it first. You have an avenue to claim bad debts. But bad debts, there are some condition is you must write off the debt in your books. You must prove the efforts like legal action, blah, blah, blah. Depends what kind of situation of bad debts. Okay, some bad debt is straightforward, some are dispute. If you say dispute, you can come to an agreed amount, means you will still collect back, but at a lesser amount. Then once you issue credit note on the lesser amount, you have to adjust in your service tax reporting.
But it's paid already.
Yeah. So if you pay already, you issue credit note, you have to do credit note adjustment in your service tax reporting. There's a column for you to do the.
I mean, we pay them, there will be a chance of deduction later.
Yes, yes. You have to keep your documents and you must know which column to fill up.
Okay.
Yeah, get your finance to find out how to adjust it.
Understand
There's an avenue on that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay.
There's some questions from online, Zoom. This question, I don't know what does it mean. Do we charge SST to client for reimbursement on expenses incurred, such as courier service company, hotel bills, etc.
Okay.
Ah.
Okay. In the service tax regime, it's similar like GST. Okay. If you charge your customer the reimbursement out of pocket, easier out of pocket expenses like traveling, accommodation, courier, okay, telephone charges, right? Those are the common printing stationery. Okay. Service tax itself, by rule of thumb, is you need to impose service tax on this. It means not only on the fee, the out of pocket, you need to charge service tax as well. Unless you're paying their statutory fee that paid to government or third party where you can support the bill. Itemize and support the bill. Those government statutory fee, you don't impose service tax. But if you bundle out no breakdown, just one lump sum out of pocket, you have to charge. They consider as a reimbursement. Reimbursement is subject to service tax. Okay, so the lingo for service tax purpose is reimbursement subject to service tax, disbursement not. But disbursement means your government fee, drawing fee, authority fee, okay, that you can support by the supporting document that you are payment on behalf. Then that portion, you don't charge service tax.
Okay, I just add in on that question. Let's say there are some printing that we need to print.
Yes.
We send out to print, to the printer to print. We use back the same bill that we paid. We ask for, practically we just advance payment from the client, and we use the exact same bill and ask for the refund. Is that required SST?
Okay, if you're asking a same bill, then customer know that you are claiming the same amount back to them, right?
Yes.
And you attach it together with your invoice, that portion, no markup, no service tax again. But there are some extra documentation you must keep intact properly. Okay, so did the extra documentation in order for you not to charge. That's why if you don't charge, you must have all this record keeping work in place.
You mean no markup, no SST?
No markup.
But if we mark up,
The markup,
then automatically SST lah.
if you mark up, let's say your printing is 1,000. You mark up to 1,002 means you won't show the bill to customer, right? Then it become OPE, out of pocket, then you need to charge service tax. Yeah.
Hi, I've got another question. I think it's quite similar to that. But the situation is that in the project whereby we are asked to get a land surveyor
Yes.
to do surveying works,
Yes.
and then the surveyor issues an invoice.
Yep.
So that invoice, the client asked me to issue another invoice when I forward the invoice. So do I add another service tax on top of that invoice?
Okay.
But it's the same invoice that is being issued.
It's the same invoice, but your surveyor issue invoice to your firm.
So this is a funny thing. The invoice was issued by the surveyor to my engineer, but the client insisted that the invoice should be sent by the architect to them. So it's supposed to be the engineer sent to me another invoice, and I issue another invoice. So I mean, what is the best way to go around this?
Okay. So for that piece of work, are you providing any extra services?
No.
Okay. Do you have your services on that charges to your customer? I mean, other
No,
charges?
because this comes under provisional. They ask us to get, other like TIA or land surveyor. for the
Okay, pay
job.
on behalf.
Yeah,
Sign off lah.
they will pay,
Mm.
but we get these other services for the job.
The client aware of the pricing? They agreed on the
Yes,
pricing.
they agreed on the pricing.
Okay. You can explore under disbursement. Okay, in the service tax regime, there's a mechanism called disbursement where if you help the end client to engage a third party service provider and the client know exactly how much they are going to charge, but you are just an intermediary for payment purpose. Okay, yeah. Then if you meet the disbursement condition, the wording is disbursement, and there's a supporting document attached, bill back to back, then that portion you can treat it under disbursement, then no service tax again.
Oh, so
Otherwise, the land survey will charge service tax,
yeah.
then that it will be under disbursement.
Okay, that
But
means
you need to keep your supporting
I will have to
document.
issue an invoice, which I say that this is a
Disbursement.
disbursement for
Yes.
the work done.
Correct.
Okay.
You can
So
go
you can
to
also
the
do-
custom website,
Right.
disbursement, reimbursement, there's a guide. And the disbursement there, they put out the condition, your documentation requirement. There's a guide in the custom portal, disbursement, reimbursement guide.
So similarly, that means my engineer will also have to issue to me a disbursement as well.
Yeah, if you route through another party. Disbursement, there's some condition to comply. Yeah. So
Can share the service for the land surveyor is for what service? Is it for land survey?
For land survey.
For land survey, So it means
the land survey
the
of the
engineer
site.
procure the land survey direct.
No, they don't want to do anything on their own. Everything has to go to the consultant.
yeah, sometimes
Oh.
they want to consolidate the billing. So if you are just helping them to get and you don't really provide the work and you facilitate the billing and payment, you can explore this, but you have the responsibility to keep the documentation if you don't charge.
All these things.
Yeah.
Because of the hassle of doing all these things, so we charge profit and attendance. Well, that will have to be a necessity.
Yeah, correct. Because
Nothing is free
didn't
along the
bill
way, right?
exactly. It didn't bill exactly.
Yeah.
So it like change to another forms already. So a customer will look at what you bill. If you bill profit attendance, is like your service.
Because I have to manage it.
Yeah, true. As long as your client don't make noise with the service tax.
They will have to know.
Now 8% already.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. It's quite interesting. There's one question about e-invoice.
Okay.
From Shak Kai, can the e-invoice be printed as hard copy for self-filing?
Oh, definitely. For record purpose, you can still print. Okay, it's a good practice to print. It's just that when you encourage green, when you send to your client, you can always electronic QR code email. But for your recording, usually you still practice the print hard copy. But the most key of the e-invoice is the data already with IRB already. Okay.
Yeah, one more question. What's architect's threshold to charge SST? No threshold, right?
100,000.
Huh?
That means once you
Or
reach
500,000?
yes, your turnover reach
from
500,000 for every 12 months rollover. Okay, especially the practice that has not registered, you have a responsibility to keep track on the 12-month rollover, not follow your financial year, not follow your accounts.
500,000 for every year lah.
Every month you have to keep track of 12-month rollover.
All right.
Yeah. Yes, still 500,000. Threshold didn't change. Yeah.
All right. Any more questions? All right.
Just now we're talking about the e-invoice. So by the time that I was supposed that we are all in the category 2 or majority will be 3.
Three,
Yeah.
yeah.
So which means next year, August.
1st July.
1st July. Okay.
Yes.
So during the time that when we issue e-invoice to the client,
Yeah.
the IRB will give us a QR code whatsoever thing.
Yes.
So that is the only valid document to pass to a client, or if let's say the client want to insert or change certain format whatsoever, how is it going to be?
Okay. E-invoice your discretion.
Yep.
Your discretion for the purpose of sending the data to IRB.
Yep.
The discretion has to be reflective lah. But because sometimes I understand in the architecture practice, sometimes your invoice has to be very lengthy, list out all the detail as per customer request. So question can tackle. The data field also have limitation. You may not able to key in all your requirements. So for the purpose of e-invoice, the rest of data is there. But description may not be as comprehensive. You end up sending out attachment. Maybe the lengthy description may end up with the attachment. But important part is you're billing what type of work, your fee, your amount, details are out there.
Okay.
Because e-invoice, you're sending the invoice data to IRB. But if for the purpose of contract, you need more detail but the data field cannot allow, you can always use the attachment as additional description.
Just also bring back to our discussion just now on the issue on the work performed earlier and bill a lot more later.
Yeah.
That IRB is as compared with custom.
Yes.
Custom is based on the monetary received within the 12 months
Yes.
period, but IRB is based on the work performed during that time.
Yes.
So that's where when e-invoice comes in, when we are billing works that actually done like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
started to bill.
Yeah.
So how is it going to be affected on the entire whole thing? Not only on us, it's also only to the developers and everything else.
Yes.
So exactly how you will foresee the entire whole systems, how it's going to be?
Yeah. Okay. Actually, for developer, they claim the a little bit of sharing on how developer tax reporting. Developer at the moment, they claim their proportional expenses based on estimated project costs. Okay. So even you haven't issued the bill, but it's in the estimated cost, they're still claiming that unless there's a provisional. So certain project costs they could have claimed already. Even though you all haven't issued invoice, but under the estimated accounting for developer, they could have claimed already. That's why they have the beauty of they haven't got your invoice, but they have that portion that estimated they have claimed. But for consultant that you need to collect money from them, you need to issue invoice. The moment you issue invoice, you need to report your income tax. Okay. So you know the customer haven't paid you, sometimes there's a delay. Okay. Actually, our Malaysia income tax system is not based on payment basis. It's based on accrual accounting. Means if your work is actually completed in that year and the contract give you a right to bill that year, technically you need to pick up an income in that particular year. So it all boils down to your contract term. So during audit, especially consultancy services, engineering, I a bit like to argue, okay, practical issue. I a bit like to argue, this work, I saw the completion is earlier. How come you haven't recognized your income? Okay, then they always will come out with the, especially those involved government project where they particularly involve delay, that the consultant will get into all these tax issue. That actually the work was before, okay, but government approval later. Then it's a matter of whether you have proof to prove that even you perform but actually not certified. So my work is not completely performed. Okay, I just closed one investigation case. Is a very I can't mention the project name. It's a huge scandal project where it also involved a huge delay project work. Also, they have a huge consortium or sub-consultant. Because of the project delay, the lead consultant cannot bill. They didn't recognize. I'll be actually looking at their books. Force them want to recognize 100%. So we have to prove all the way that to that extent, they haven't complete because the certification has not been completely done. But yes, there's a milestone. Because that consultant totally don't recognize that part. So when IRB come in, they argue and say, I don't agree, you totally no work done. You should have accrue your income to at least a proportion. So it end up with a settlement of proportion. Because they want to recognize all because the public announcement in the news say project completed already, but lead consultant never recognize the income. So the big project will, under the radar, always have this issue.
I think I did, when you arrive at that kind of situation, everyone will have that tactical how to settle things. Cannot do anything, right?
Yeah, you have an issue of
Okay.
you report, you end
You
up
want to
paying
report, not
tax
report, it's all
in
technical.
advance, and you're not sure whether you can bill. I mean, these are the practical issue, and if you delay, exposed to penalty if the case being audited.
So don't want to catch out anyone there. Any other question from the floor? I just got one more. I got two more. Yes.
Yeah, just want to clarify just now. The SST, the reimbursable is subject to tax.
Yes.
The disbursement is not.
Yeah, but the disbursement not our normal understanding of disbursement. You have to
Even
go,
like on behalf. Or something.
yes, payment on behalf with supporting document, no markup.
Okay, just
and you can support it.
another addition is the clerk of work
Yes,
Is it subject to SST also?
yes. Clerk of work.
So that means, yeah, because we mark up multiplier and things.
Yeah, because clerk of work is actually a supply of manpower services. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So it will
Manpower.
be after, that means if 12 months, once 1st March, that means 8% after that.
Yes. For the clerk of works provided on and after is 8%.
Thanks.
Okay.
Last question. One more question. Yes.
Yeah, last.
Huh? Last question.
Hi, just now SST you said exemption for healthcare for services provided by hospitals and medical people. Or let's say if the architects are designing for a hospital, or I think for government hospitals it's totally exempted lah. But let's say for clinic or health services.
Okay. Actually, the healthcare services exempted is from the perspective of the medical practitioner.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's say a hospital. Okay. Or the specialist client of mine, for example, specialist consultant. They charge medical consultancy to the patient because on the condition that they are registered under Private Healthcare Act, then they can exempted from charging. But if that medical practitioner didn't register themselves under the Malaysia Private Healthcare Act, okay, then they need to charge because it will fall under the Group C. Okay, the Group C, which is not regulated sector. Because the regulated sector, they give the benefit of not charging SST. That's why if you go to hospital, the consultant fee was not charged. Okay, the consultant fee was not charged because they are all the doctor in the hospital has to be registered in the private healthcare. But the outside clinic, sometimes they charge as medical consultancy, but their setup are not registered. Then they will have to charge you. So these are the tricky part on the service tax. Same goes to the TCM.
No, I mean, like, let's say I have a client who's wanting to build a hospital. Okay. So that's why when you put the slide says healthcare services. So I just want to ask, let's say if I'm designing a building for a eye specialist.
Yes.
So I still charge
Yes.
for my services,
Because
right?
they're providing architecture service, they are not providing
okay.
medical consultancy service.
So because like for government hospitals, which I have been involved, it's totally exempted.
Okay, they have to give you the order if it's government hospital or what, because they have another special order say person exempted from charge, means they got the approval from government that service provider don't charge them. If they don't have that order to show you, you still have to treat them as normal and charge service tax.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
Right. Thank you. I think this is a very good topic. We have about 200 plus in the online attendees, and then we have about 80 plus for the physical. Do you think that we should have a workshop to have this? Because for me, I believe we should bring our accountants to learn about this. Maybe one of the proposals. Do you agree with this?
I think SST definitely, I think need to have a workshop as a general
Yeah.
knowledge, but I think perhaps we can start on the e-invoicing
Yes.
prep first.
Yeah,
so
we
that
actually as a
we are
preps.
not too caught in shock when
Right.
it's actually everything implemented.
Yeah, I think we should do this. Very important for us as an architect. I mean, accountant department. Our accountant department should know this. Very good knowledge.
Yeah.
Perhaps, Ms. Chin, we're going to talk with you again.
Can, no problem.
Maybe we conduct under PTPAM
Mm.
for a workshop among us, and then you can bring along your accountants to sit down together. And then, like you say, Arman, we shall begin on the preps for the e-invoicing. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms.
Yeah,
Chin.
thank you very
Thank
much.
you,
Thank you,
Architect
Pam, for the
moderator.
invitation.
Very well.
Yeah.
Any gift to give? Tak ada lah. Kita puasa gift. Alright, thank you so much all, and
Thank you
thank
for
you
the
everyone.
invitation.
See you
Thank you.
for the next session. Yeah, selamat buka puasa semua. Selamat Hari Raya. Bye, thanks.